My area of expertise goes right when you go past the vocal cords to your anus. The number one actually is that we eat too much in general.
Can you hook me up with some Ivermectin?
No.
No. Should we not go there?
I mean, goddamn. It's the fact that they smoke these fish or they burn them and they're eating it that way. So again, it has a lot of nitrosamines, which are apparently linked towards cancer if you eat it all day, every day, that sort of thing.
But there's room for improvement.
Yeah, there's definitely room for improvement, but I agree. I mean, if you can get a nationalized healthcare that would streamline it and make sure that at the very least people's bills would make more sense, then fair enough. And unfortunately, there's a lot of players that would lose out a lot of money on that, and that's probably why it's never going to get implemented.
Because money buys the lawmakers?
Unfortunately.
Okay.
That's definitely part of it. I mean,
I knew I liked you, Big.
It's terrible. It's sad to see someone die from a cancer that is almost entirely preventable. And
he actually told me that at the bar as I was pounding a pitcher of margarita.
Hello, family and friends. Welcome to another Talks with Lemonade. This is available to the billions around the world on YouTube in 4K and audio streaming services like Pandora, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. If you like this content, please subscribe, like, comment, and share. And now onto the podcast. All right, we could start. Vig, thank you for this opportunity. So you're a ear, mouth, nose?
No, I'm a gastroenterologist.
Oh,
so
wait, I mixed.
So so ear, nose, and throats are surgeons, and I am not a surgeon by any means. My area of expertise goes right when you go past the vocal cords to your anus.
Okay.
That is not a cuss word.
You have you have territory of geography.
And we also do the liver, anything that actually secretes stuff into the GI tract. We also kind of pay attention to. So the pancreas, the liver, are also part of the GI world.
What are kind of the biggest things that people don't know or don't do well with their body in that expertise that you know of?
It's funny.
Put alcohol in.
Well, if that's number one, if that's number one, is it?
It's not number one. The number one actually is that we eat too much in general.
Yeah.
That's probably the first and foremost. Eating too much is linked to not just GI problems, but a lot of other like diabetes, the high blood pressure, the cholesterol, heart disease, and all that stuff. So that tends to be number one.
Would you say by chance can you tell by the evolutionary growth of the body, are we eating way too much meat? Say people that have even a decent diet. I've heard a scientist say that we should be eating a lot of greens, a lot, like something to the extent of, I think one small piece of meat a week is.
So as far as are we eating too much meat, it's not that we're eating too much meat because it's not good for you. It's a lot of it is because meat takes a lot more resources to produce and grow than not. So for example, a chicken is actually much less calories than a lot of people think. Like a chicken breast usually is like 110 to 150 calories, and it doesn't really have much in the way of carbs. It's all mostly protein. Mm-hmm. Red meat, on the other hand, is definitely much more calorically expensive than chicken or lean meats.
Because it's fatty?
Yeah. And actually a hamburger patty has like 200, 250 calories, just the patty itself.
Oh, wow.
Wait, so why can't we grow leaner cows?
Well, we probably could, but it's not just that we need to grow leaner cows. It's that, we're talking about of 6 billion people eating so much meat. It just takes the whole production of that whole thing is extensive. So meat production is, I think, why people say eat less meat. As far as the things that we do overeat is carbs. Carbs tend to be the one that people can't stay away from. I can't stay away from rice. I almost got to eat rice like every 2 days or so. So that tends to be the thing that we pay attention to. And evolutionarily, what we really do is that when we started, we were more hunters and gatherers, right? So our bodies have become very, very efficient. Like the intestines are redundant. Like you don't need even half of the intestines that you have really. So you just absorb, your body is really, really good at absorbing all the nutrients that you get. And since we live a much more sedentary lifestyle now, it leads to more weight. So that's why like doing a calorie limit is probably one of the best ways to lose weight, is just not eating as many calories and so on. So then you don't.
Does that mean diet to normal people?
Yes.
I've heard a lot of people that eat a lot less meat and they're doing greens and beans and whatnot. They will say, when I eat meat, I feel terrible.
Honestly, I've never really noticed. I unfortunately have never had a patient like that before myself. So, I mean, you will have people that say that. I don't necessarily think. I don't know if there's a biological basis for that.
It's their conscience.
Yeah, I mean, placebo effect is a real thing. So if they already look at it and they're like, oh my gosh, this doesn't look good, and then they eat it and they're like, oh my gosh, I feel terrible. Why did I eat something that doesn't look good?
Yeah, that's me with tofu.
Right. And there is that stinky tofu thing, and some people say it tastes exactly like how it smells and stuff like that. I don't know. So yeah, I've never seen any biological explanation for why eating meat will make you feel bad. I mean, if you're saying that you ate meat and has a lot more calories and you ate a high calorie meal that makes you want to sleep right afterwards, yeah, I mean that's what it does, because your body is now in the let's digest, and if you're digesting, your body doesn't want to move as much.
From your line of work, by chance, have you seen people that eat a lot of meat versus people that don't? Can you, in your profession, I don't know if it's x-rays or whatever you look at, can you tell that their body's doing better? Okay, not really okay.
Yeah, I can't say it's some. I wouldn't be able to point out who is eating more meat and who is not eating more meat.
And who's? Can you kind of tell who's healthier in any way?
Oh yeah. I mean, you can usually tell people who are healthier, but if someone is walking into my office, I mean, the way we generally tell if people are healthy is do they have a normal BMI? What is their resting heart rate? What is their blood pressure? How many breaths per minute are they breathing? Because usually people are more healthier tend to have a lower heart rate, tend to be breathing less per minute. Like what's normal breaths per minute is like 6 to 10. Like you'll see people that are.
So are you saying if your body's carrying a lot of weight, like obese, right? Then your organs are struggling to carry all this?
Maybe not struggling, but they're going to be working harder.
Okay.
So you will see, like when someone comes to the office that is more obese, they're resting like an athlete's resting heart rate, usually in the 50s per minute. Normal people's resting heart rate is like 60 to 80 per minute. And depending on their athletic level, it's maybe closer to 60, maybe closer to 80. Yeah. As you get to the obese range, it's like 80 to 100.
Okay.
So their bodies will definitely be working a little bit harder than usual.
So your engine's working a little harder to keep everything going.
Mm-hmm.
That's fascinating.
On the flip side, obese people tend to be also very strong.
Because they're
still carrying so much weight.
Yeah. You're lifting weight all the time.
People don't really give enough credit. It's just like when you carry around that much weight, that's a lot of weight to carry around, and you don't ever want to mess with people that just because they're obese, they can't fight, they can't run, they can't do anything, and then they'll just hit you once and you'll go flying.
Well, I've thought of that before. Like if I'm carrying in like a case of water from Costco, it's like 40 pounds worth of water, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I feel this in my legs. Can you imagine if I was 40 pounds heavier just all the time? I'd be carrying this much weight around on my body.
Exactly. I mean, this is why, like, I don't know why. I had a few patients that like to fight and talk about fighting all the time and whatnot.
Like UFC stuff?
Yeah, they're very big about that. And they talk about who's good and who's bad. And I'm like, honestly, that's great. Just don't take that and act like you're good at you're good at fighting and take it outside. Because honestly, 50 pounds in real life that's huge. Like if someone's 50 pounds heavier than you, even if they don't look fit or are fit or whatever, they can still probably hurt you.
Don't try to jump and chokehold them.
Yeah, please don't.
Yeah. One kick or stomp by them, maybe if they can.
I actually did a Taekwondo tournament when I was a kid. I used to do Taekwondo, and in one of the tournaments, I was in the heavyweight division. I was fatter than most people, but the heavyweight division was literally the range was like 180 to as high as you can go. There was no higher weight division. And there was this dude from Texas. He was like 400 pounds. And this is when I was like 15. Mm-hmm. So and he was fighting some dude that was like 190 pounds. And the 190 pound dude was like dancing around him, kicking him, hitting him. Yeah. And the other guy hit him just once. Just once he smacked him good, really, and the guy couldn't get up.
Oh, yeah.
Caught him with a good one.
Yeah, it was definitely one of those. That was when I actually was like, oh crap.
Size does matter.
Size really will.
I was we went down to EDC last night, and getting in was kind of a hassle for parking. It probably took us like an hour to wait to park.
Damn.
And there were people that were cutting around. And we didn't know it at the time. There's like a drop-off area, so it's very poorly designed, but we thought they were just cutting. So I'm getting angry. You know, you're blocking people. Like I'm reaching out and pushing their mirrors in, and one guy successfully cut a couple cars ahead of us or something. And I was like, in my head, I'm fantasizing like I should go pull this fucking door open and go hit this guy in the jaw. You know, I'm ready to fight, right? And then later on at EDC, everybody's happy and, you know, wearing their rainbow shit. And I saw a big dude. I'm like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't be. That dude is just bigger than me. Like, I could give him everything I got, and he'd probably
he'd still not even feel it. So I go on Reddit all the time, and there's a subreddit called PublicFreakOut, which sometimes I like to visit. Just that's how I get my fighting impulses out of the way. I'm like, oh,
PublicFreakOut.
Yeah, it's just called r/PublicFreakOut, and you just see a lot of people like. There's just people filming doing stupid things like getting into fights over masks and all this other ridiculousness. And then I see like, oh man, that guy just got, because like, you know, in movies you see someone gets hit in the face like 5, 6, 7, 8 times, they'll still get up and start fighting. In these other things you see like they get clocked once and then they're on the floor. I'm like, oh, all right. Well, maybe in real life I'm probably not gonna.
Isn't there a weird thing where if you catch somebody on the chin? That doesn't make sense to me. Does it rattle the brain or what's
that seems to be the only explanation. I've tried to read into this a little bit to try like what is it that makes you lose consciousness?
The documentary I watched. So your brain, your skull, and then your brain's in a liquid. So when you like hit the jaw, it causes that brain to actually hit the skull, and the harder it hits, the more likely for a blackout. So I guess
go for a reboot.
It's like a hard reset. Yeah.
So the jaw is the closest. It's like it connects to that bone that connects to this bone. So
okay.
Huh. Yeah, but just like the idea of like, okay, so the brain got smushed against the side of the skull. Why does that count? And why does that knock you out? And that's nobody. I haven't really seen a good explanation.
Gotcha. Okay.
Interesting.
So yeah, I don't know.
You went in the wrong studies. Jumping to a question from my wife, she asked about the thyroid and the word you said.
Nodule.
Nodule. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that above the vocal box or below?
No. So the thyroid gland is actually right here.
Yeah.
It's in front of the vocal cord. So it's actually a separate gland. It's outside of the trachea. It's outside of the esophagus. It's its own thing. And it secretes thyroid hormone, which we need to sort of regulate weight, heat, our temperature.
So that falls into your...
No.
Oh, okay.
Actually,
it falls ENT?
No, that actually... Well, I mean, ENT if it's a surgical thing. So this is the thing. Medicine now has progressed so much that there's a lot of different fields now. So the people that take care of the function of the thyroid, they're called endocrinologists. So... because the thyroid is an endocrine hormone. It secretes a hormone that affects elsewhere around the body. But if you say had a nodule, and where a thyroid nodule comes into play is, there's not supposed to be nodules on the thyroid. Thyroid nodules can be benign, or they can be malignant, or they can be secreting or non-secreting. So benign thyroid nodules, nothing to do. You're not going to touch them. You're just going to leave them alone. But there does need to be an evaluation that's in place. Like usually they'll do an ultrasound. They'll do some other studies to see does it actually secrete more hormone than usual, and kind of go from there.
Yeah, she did the ultrasound, and then the doctor thinks it's benign, but she said come back for a checkup in 6 months. My wife asked in the morning when you clear your throat, she has to clear her throat a lot in the morning. She's asking, is it kind of due to the thyroid thing, or I think it could be just she's thinking it could be just more human, like everybody wakes up and kind of clears their throat. What's your
it's mostly a human thing. Thyroid, if your thyroid is causing more trouble, there's usually much more metrics for that. So once they've diagnosed a thyroid nodule, usually they'll do some blood tests also to see there's a thing called a thyroid stimulating hormone, or TSH, which they'll check to see if that level is really high or really low. And if that's really high, that says that your thyroid is not making anything. If that's really low, that means your thyroid is making too much. So then they'll start talking about like, okay, what do we do with those things? So as long as the TSH or the thyroid hormones themselves are normal, then It's probably not that. It probably is just as you you're not drinking water and when you're sleeping, and it usually just dries out.
If you wake up and puke every day, that's a different story.
No, she's not puking every day. I'll give a story.
Or you're pregnant, one or the other.
I'll give a story. Then, if you want to add to it, you can. If it's not in your wheelhouse of expertise, feel free to say so. So her family, it seems the thyroid thing seems to be a genetic thing in the family. Like all her aunts and her mom has it to some degree, and a lot of her aunts have gotten medicine, and supposedly just the medicine is good enough. I forget if she mentioned. I think none of them had to have surgery yet to cut it out. And yeah, her aunts, some of them are in their 50s or whatever. The thing that I find unusual with her whole family is when they clear their throat, and this is throughout the day, it's a heavy and it's very, most of them are actually, her family has a lot of women, so it's very unfeminine in stereotypically.
Sure. Just hawking loogies.
No. The clearing of the throat is a heavy, it's not like that, but it's pretty heavy.
Mm-hmm. They just want your attention.
Yeah. I don't know. Any thoughts on, does that mean it could be a benign thing that's actually big enough to cause that?
I mean, as I said, the thyroid is sitting, the thyroid gland is sitting in front of the trachea. It's in front of the esophagus. I guess theoretically, if your thyroid gets larger, which it can, there are conditions where that happens, it can compress the trachea a little bit. And if that happens, perhaps that'll cause them to clear their throats more. But if it's actually gotten large enough that it actually affects the surrounding structures, that's not a benign thing. That becomes something that needs to be looked at much more closely. So the clearing of the throat, also probably overall salivary secretions there's probably some genetic component to that. So it would make sense for if all her family members have a little bit drier throats, she also has a drier throat.
Oh, okay.
But I don't think it's going to be related to the thyroid nodule.
Oh, okay, cool. That's good to know.
But then she moved from Vietnam to Las Vegas.
Yeah, so
to an even drier climate.
Yeah, exactly. yeah.
Because actually, my cousin is, and now that you mentioned it, my cousin comes from. He moved to my parents' house from India, and he comes from a very humid climate.
Yeah.
So when he came here, also had similar like dry skin, dry throat, that sort of thing. My girlfriend also same thing. She was in Georgia, and then she moved to San Diego, and really caused a little bit of getting used to.
Can we eat Vaseline, or is that not a good?
Probably not a good idea.
No. Okay. Just doctor stuff.
You didn't listen to the podcast where JC told you to do tea? Was it tea and honey?
Honey tea, yeah. Ginger tea or something.
Yeah,
honey tea.
Emmett's throat. It seems to dry up during this podcast a lot.
Yeah.
Mine does too, but I feel yours is worse.
Less than it was. For me, I think a lot of it was psychological, knowing that I'm going to go give a speech. Right. It'll happen to me a little bit too when I'm about to make a phone call. Like if I know an important phone call, I'm about to dial, like I'm getting ready, kind of mentally.
Gotcha.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So if you knew you had a thyroid problem, maybe it gets in your head and start clearing your throat a lot.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely like a lot of human condition. That's part of the human condition, is that when you start thinking about something, it definitely makes it worse. Now, I don't want to say that there's nothing wrong with the thyroid nodule. Again, that's where
she's fine.
The whole evaluation needs to be done.
Yeah.
But the majority of the time, it's fine. And thyroid issues are usually, unless you have thyroid cancer, I'm sorry. Which unfortunately, like actually my cousin, he just, his wife now had thyroid cancer and they had to remove it. But luckily, even thyroid cancer is actually not that aggressive as compared to other cancers.
Okay.
So
let's jump back to your area of expertise. What are some really interesting facts wisdoms that you discovered through your profession so far? So
overall, the main thing that I talk about with my profession is that people hate screening for anything. What I mean by that is okay, so when you turn 45, well, it used to be 50. It actually just switched down to 45.
Oh, shit.
Everyone should be getting a colonoscopy.
Next year?
Yeah, I got a year.
Not all insurance is covered, though, so maybe you might have to wait till 50. But
my insurance is terrible, so I'm probably off the hook.
Until 50 is screening for colon cancer or screening for any type of cancer, really. I mean, we only screen, there's only like four types of cancers that we can really screen for. That's breast, cervical, prostate, and colon. Those are the ones that we routinely, for the average person, we're going to screen for. And women are okay with doing the breast. They're okay with the cervical, and prostate cancer screening is usually a blood test. It used to be a rectal exam, but that is not very that specific anymore. So people just do the blood test. In fact, there's recommendations now that you don't even do the blood test, that you don't have to screen for prostate cancer. There's a whole controversy around that.
But dudes don't have to worry about breast cancer, right?
Unless you have breast tissue, which some dudes do have.
Okay.
And
wait, how do you distinguish breast tissue from I'm just overweight and I've got moobs?
You may not be able to, unfortunately. And that's just one of those things where someone will have to actually do like a CAT scan or something to actually see if you have breast tissue. There's a lot of people that walk around with breast tissue, that a lot of guys that have breast tissue doesn't necessarily cause any trouble.
What's a guy with breast? Is it like mammary glands are growing, or what's the?
Yeah, there'll be like mammary glands, some excess fat in that area, but it's not so much that it's going to cause problems. Really, when it does, and this is the only time I've ever seen it cause trouble, is that you'll have the occasional dude who unfortunately has breast tissue and is playing contact sports.
Really?
And when they're playing contact sports, getting hit in the chest, it's much more painful when you have breast tissue than just muscle.
I think WWE gets slapped in the chest the most.
Oh man, those slaps in the chest are so funny. They are so funny.
He's attacking the other dude's breast cancer.
Yeah. I've never seen. I remember the first time I watched that, and I'm like, wait, this guy just literally just backhanded him in the chest. What is that?
Yes.
Is this is a thing? I started doing that to all my friends after. I was like, yo, you're pissing me off. Damn.
That's awesome.
But yeah, so colon cancer screening.
Sorry, I took us the wrong way.
No, it's all good. It's all good. So colon cancer screening is probably the most, in my mind, one of the easiest things to do to protect yourself from a cancer that usually hits people in their 6th or 7th decade of life. And all it is you got to get a colonoscopy or some other form of screening. But
you just get one, or you have to get it every couple of years?
You have to get it like every 10 years if it's normal.
Oh, okay.
7 to 10 years if it's normal.
Gotcha.
Now, the problem with it is no one cares about the colonoscopies. You're not going to feel it. You're not going to remember. You're going to be asleep. So when we do a colonoscopy, you're going to be fully asleep and you won't notice. But the day before, you're going to have to take this bowel prep, which is basically you're pooping your brains out for 24 hours. And obviously no one likes that. And so no one likes the idea of having something up their butt.
I mean, I enjoy pooping.
But that's going out, not up.
No, I mean, but as far as the bowel clear.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, you will have the occasional person that's like, oh, sweet, I'll get a bowel cleanse. Maybe that'll help you get that to them. But
I mean, I'd rather poop than hold it.
True. That is true.
Okay. But when I poop, I feel like, oh, good, it's out. Like,
right. But in this case, you're just constantly for
just living on the toilet
12 hours. Yeah, because we give you the bowel prep maybe around like 5 p.m. And then you're going to be taking it, and you're going to be from 5 p.m. to like 8 in the following morning. You're just going to be every 20 minutes, every 25 minutes, you're going to be on the toilet.
And you can't eat anything, right?
And you're just going to be on clear liquids until the day of.
Okay.
It's just oral medicine?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe it doesn't sound so bad. Like I could sit on the toilet for hours. Like I got my phone. I just sit on my phone.
I mean,
do we hit 10 minutes? Okay.
Oh yeah. Fuck shit.
we have a game where we're trying not to cuss for the first 10 minutes.
Thank you, YouTube.
It hit, right?
Yeah. We're good.
Sweet.
We're
Thank
good
you.
now.
All right. But yeah, it's such a simple procedure. It takes maybe 20 minutes like 20 minutes to do. And you got to get put to sleep. So you got to take like the day off work and whatnot. But you do that, and if we find a polyp or something, those polyps are usually precursors to cancer. The number of times I have seen a patient who is like 65 or 58 or 72 or 90 even, who now has a raging colon cancer that is maybe unresectable, maybe resectable, you don't know. Right. You got to sit through chemotherapy now, whereas if you had just come in on time and we had removed the polyp that this probably grew from, you would be okay.
So this is an easy train to see coming down the tracks.
It is. It is very easy. I mean, and now you have like major celebrities. There's like the Black Panther dude, Chadwick Boseman. He died from colon cancer.
Oh, he never did a screening.
I mean, but he actually got it really young.
Okay.
So, I mean, as I said, usually we start at the age of 50. He got it in his 30s, which is highly unusual. And there's probably some family history or something, which, I mean, I'm not here to guess, but.
Right. So Wakandans might have a genetic predisposition.
To colon cancer.
Okay.
The whole nation.
That's why they're so crazy about science.
It's actually a thing. So there's some nations that are more that are predisposed to certain cancers. So like Asians, especially East Asians, are predisposed to gastric cancers than others. And it has something to do with the food, the smoked fish that they eat, something like that. But what's interesting is that's actually a dietary thing, because if you bring those people here and they switch to a regular diet within a generation, that risk is down.
Wait, where's East Asia? Is that
Like
China?
Korea, China,
Okay.
Japan, that sort of place.
Gotcha.
Well, pretty much anywhere where seafood tends to be the staple.
But not Southeast Asia?
I mean, in Southeast Asia too, where again seafood is a staple. Like India,
Okay.
South Asia, we don't have that as much higher risk because we don't eat fish as much. I mean, I guess the coastal cities do, but
Is there then presumably a link between seafood and...
it's not the seafood, it's the preparation.
Okay, smoked.
The smoked part of it.
Oh, has carcinogens in it?
Yeah, there's supposedly like nitrosamines is what they're called, something like that.
You said the smoked part?
Yeah, it's the fact that they smoke these fish or they burn them and they're eating it that way. So again, it has a lot of nitrosamines, which are apparently linked towards cancer if you eat it all day, every day, that sort of thing. Pretty much one thing you learn in medicine is everything in moderation is probably okay.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that, because it feels like there's a lot of studies that eating fish is very good for you too. So it's some type of moderation.
Yeah, and fish is great for because it has a lot of protein. Again, it's a lean meat, so it doesn't. Well, it's not meat, I guess, but it does not have as many calories, and it is definitely better for you than say a lot of people who do eat red meat.
Gotcha.
Well, what if I have a buffalo wing problem? And
Buffalo wings are not red meat.
Yeah,
Right.
they're deep fried, right?
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, if you're eating them and they're all breaded and whatnot, then yeah, it's still a lot
Usually
of
not
carbs.
breaded, yeah.
But you have the air fryer. It's not deep fried.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, it's when I'm out that I'm getting them. Not
The air fryer does a pretty damn good job. We're not sponsored by air fryer, whatever company you are, but they do a phenomenal job. Like, I was surprised that they come out near restaurant quality.
yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
I just find myself at bars often, and if there's buffalo wings on the menu,
But it's not like you're eating buffalo wings every day.
it's probably every week or two.
That's
fine.
not like smoked fish every day.
Dr. Vig said I can eat buffalo wings.
So,
But that's in moderation with everything else too.
I mean, I'm not eating 50 of them at a time.
right. No, it's funny because one of the things I always get asked is like, there's a lot of people that have heartburn.
Yeah.
We see a lot of heartburn. That's actually like one of the most common diseases that we deal with in GI. And there's always been association with heartburn with people who drink too much coffee, people who drink too much alcohol, too much smoking, while
Stress?
So
Is stress part of that equation?
Stress absolutely is part of that equation. But when we say dietary wise, we say, don't eat chocolates, greasy foods, fatty foods,
it's everything,
coffee.
dude.
Yeah, pretty much everything. And I've learned over time, first of all, there's actually some studies that kind of question whether that's actually as accurate, but you will actually have people that drink their morning coffee, and we'll also say that, that's when the heartburn starts and it just stays all day and stuff like that. So
that's when the stress starts, is when they're conscious.
also that too.
But you know what I've heard is they'll say they're avoiding tomatoes because they're acidic. Is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's, tomatoes, oranges, citrus, they definitely have some amount of increased acid. Now,
It's a miserable life.
but what's interesting is that it's not the acidity of the food that leads to heartburn. What causes heartburn is that your esophagus is it's just a long tube. It's got two ends to it. There's a sphincter on both ends, and the sphincter on the upper end is actually under our control. Like you can voluntarily, not voluntarily, but it's when you swallow that will automatically open.
Okay.
Whereas the lower one is like we won't feel it, notice it, or think about it whether it opens or closes.
Okay, so there's a door between my esophagus and my stomach.
Yes.
Okay. I never knew this.
Yes. And
Makes sense, yeah.
What ends up happening is as your stomach is digesting food, sometimes this door will stay open a little bit.
Yeah.
And that'll allow some acid to come up. And that's usually what causes the heartburn. And there's not necessarily an easy way to fix that. So what we usually do is we just try to say, okay, if you bring down the acidity, then it will cause less of a burn injury to your esophagus. And that's why we tell people don't drink too much, don't do things that'll increase the acidity of your stomach. But fortunately, there's actually a medicine that we can take that will, regardless of what you eat, will reduce almost all the acid in your stomach to low enough levels that you won't get heartburn really.
Okay.
And but people don't like taking medicine sometimes. So
Are you talking about Tums or something else?
No, it's called. They're called proton pump inhibitors, and literally what they do is they block proton pumps.
That sounds futuristic.
And it's actually
Sounds mechanical.
Yeah, well, it's old. It's been around. Well, when I say old, it's been around for 15, 20 years or so, maybe 25 years. And yeah, I mean, it's omeprazole or Nexium or Prilosec or Protonix. Those are the medications. And if you take that once a day, usually that will reduce almost all the acid in your stomach, and you usually won't have much trouble.
Would that help my Asian glow also when I drink alcohol?
No,
because I think
Pepcid is the one that usually is associated with that, right?
Oh, okay, Pepcid.
Zantac?
No, I think I'm mixed up. You said Prilosec. I mixed it up with the other one.
Pepcid. Yeah. Yeah, that's what my best friend. He's telling us he takes Pepcid every time we go out drinking.
Liem would be a terrible doctor.
No. You give it some time. You'll learn the different words, and the learning the drug name versus the trade name. It's all a wash.
By any chance,
doubles your brain memory.
It really does.
By any chance, do you know of was it Pepcid and then alcohol to stop the Asian glow? Is that bad in any way? Do you know?
No.
Okay.
Pepcid is a very benign medication.
What if I was a raging alcoholic, but I chose to take my Pepcid every day before I drink? So I'm doing Pepcid.
Yeah.
3 years in a row every day with alcohol.
No problem.
Really?
Yeah, because
that's awesome. That's great to hear. My wife is like, hey, maybe you shouldn't do that so often. I rarely do. I've done it probably like 4 times over the last 4 years. So
once a year? Jesus Christ.
That's too much. What are you doing? Why are you drinking so much Pepcid? No. So when it comes to these acid relieving medications, we usually tell people to take them every day.
Yeah.
And what was interesting is that so the proton pump inhibitors, or PPIs as we call them, they've been associated with every bad thing you can think of under the sun. There, people said, it causes pneumonias, it causes dementias, it causes electrolyte imbalances, it causes infections, it causes a very serious GI infection called C. diff and other GI infections and blah, blah, blah. I mean, like all these associations that people do. And the problem with medical studies is that sometimes sometimes you'll be able to run stats in such a way to get a specific answer, even if and make it look like it's statistically significant, even if it's not necessarily clinically significant. So yes, right. I mean, you had one case out of 1,000. That's maybe statistically significant, but if you had one case out of 1,000,000, I mean, who the hell cares?
Right.
So there's a study that was done 2 years ago now. It was published in one of the journals where they had 17,000 patients. 8,000 of them were taking a PPI, 8,000 of them were not, and they just kind of followed them for 5 years, and they found like the association with pneumonia is.
Wait, what about the other 1,000? Were they dropouts or what?
They're part control.
It was like 8,500 or 8,500,
okay,
something like that. I mean, and actually, if you look at most big studies, they'll have close to like 500, like a good 1 to 5% people will just drop out of the study.
Okay,
for a lot of different reasons. But anyway,
died.
Unfortunately, that is one of the ways you'll see.
Well, if you get a big enough population, there's some death rate.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And for long enough, right? So this was a 5-year study, and they show that there's no association with any of these things, other than there is a slight risk of mineral deficiencies, like if you don't have enough minerals or like essential minerals in your diet, then perhaps you might have a decrease in that. But there is a slightly increased risk of GI infections. But again, those are people that I think are going to be a little bit on the sicker side. That like you or I, if we take PPI, our risk of GI infections is already astronomically low. Maybe it's a slightly higher with the PPI, but not so much so that I would recommend you stopping it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you should just drink more. don't let that stop you from drinking as much as you please.
Exactly.
By any chance, is hernias in your wheelhouse?
Hernias, I mean, they're part of it, but we would not fix the hernias. That'd usually be a surgical thing.
Okay. Do you know enough?
Wait, what's a hernia? Is that when your organ pops through your muscle tissue?
Yeah, so it doesn't always have to be an organ. It can just be, you have a lot of fat on your belly. Sometimes it can just be the fat on the belly will actually herniate through a muscular defect. It could be there's these things called inguinal hernias. There's an inguinal hernia which is like there's a ring right in the groin that allows the nerves and like the spermatic cord and other things go through. Things can actually herniate.
Did you say
through
spermatic cord?
Yeah, that's like
Okay.
Luckily, urology is not my field, so I don't always have to know too much about that. But You know how you have these people that have like giant scrotums, like this huge scrotum. That actually happens.
Wait, big balls?
It's not big balls. It's actually like something you can actually Google this, where they have it's like elephant scrotum, where they actually have intestinal contents in their scrotum, because there is this inguinal ring that unfortunately, if it doesn't, I guess if it stays too open too long, then you can have
your organs are dropping into your ball sack.
Intestines generally can't. It can. It's very rare. It's very rare, but that's one possibility. And that's like.
Do they come in all panicked?
I
would, right? No?
I would, but I mean, it's not going to happen over one day. This is usually a congenital thing. So congenital meaning this happens very, very early in life.
Oh, like my sack was always gigantic.
There you go. Then you don't have to worry about it right
and
now.
I didn't watch porn, so I don't know what a normal size sack should be.
But there is one hernia.
I was looking at the wrong people in the porn.
There you go. There you go.
Sorry.
There is one hernia that we generally do deal with, and it's called a hiatal hernia. And what that is when you think about it, your stomach, your esophagus, when it squeezes both this way, and it also shortens. So sometimes when it does that, part of the stomach will go up into the chest. Like it's a very small portion, like a centimeter of the stomach will go up, will be basically pulled up into the chest, and then go back down after the contraction is over. For some people, though, some part of that stomach doesn't go down. It just stays up in the chest. Doesn't usually cause too much issues unless it's very large. And like what's large is usually over 3 centimeters, which is roughly a little bit over an inch and something. When it gets to 3, 4, maybe 5, you have a slightly increased risk of heartburn, because if you think about it, the reason why this hole in the diaphragm that actually keeps the stomach down is also important to keep the door on the bottom closed.
Yeah.
So if the stomach is above that, then that door isn't going to be as effective.
Your stomach's getting too uppity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Literally.
I'll just tell my story of my hernia years ago. I think it was a hernia.
Liem's just getting consulting from you.
Yeah.
Sucker.
Well, like I said, I'm not a surgeon. So if a surgeon is listening on the podcast, please correct me if I'm wrong.
Leave a comment down below.
Yep. Cut it out. Cut it out.
I had 2 friends. We just had a blast that week. We were drinking and partying every night. This was when I was like 27 years old. They're about that same age. Every night we were getting like 2 hours of sleep, I think, for a week straight. It was nuts. We were just fucking drinking and partying every freaking work day. Wake up, go to work, party it up all through the night, and get 2 hours of sleep. 7 days. I think on the 6th day, something felt right up here. It felt just not right. Like I would describe it as an acid feeling.
Mm-hmm. Was this when you discovered Tijuana?
No.
So they sent you on this rager?
No, I wish that would have been a better story. This story there wasn't really any. There was just 3 of us. We're just hanging out. It was stupid. It wasn't even like a massive party for
just drinking your asses off at a bowling alley
at home, dude. It was terrible. There was no good story behind this. But so I think the 6th night, it started burning, and it continued to burn for like a week, if I remember correctly. And then I started searching online. What is this feeling? And then people are saying it's probably a hernia. I still don't. What do you think? I still don't know what it is. I
was probably more acid reflux than a hernia. Because I mean, did someone actually? Did you go to a doctor for it or anything?
I did. They took a stool sample. Gosh, I was 27. That was 12, 13 years ago. There was blood. There was dark blood in the stool, or it was dark red. So blood. I don't know if that's an indication that a hernia.
I mean, so dark blood in the stool, or any blood in the stool, coming from up here, like in the stomach or something, is a little unusual. Usually, if that was going to be, if it was going to present in the stool that there was bleeding, then that would be pretty bad. That means like you're bleeding so significantly up here, it's going through your GI tract really fast and hitting your colon really fast, which is a little unusual, especially if you're just like, I just feel kind of queasy and just a little bit of pain, but nothing more serious. You're not lightheaded. You're not passing out. You're not sweating or anything like that. Yep. So that bleeding is probably more hemorrhoidal than anything else. And hemorrhoids are very common. There's internal and external hemorrhoids. External hemorrhoids are not common because people would notice. Because external hemorrhoids are hemorrhoids that you can usually feel as you wipe. You'll feel like a bump or something. Internal hemorrhoids, you won't notice, you won't know about unless I did a colonoscopy and I actually saw the hemorrhoids. So yeah, pretty much. And
What is that? Just that would just be an abnormal growth that we have no control of.
It's not. What it is basically the muscular wall around the anal canal. It's just you use it so much that usually some of these vessels that kind of these veins that are kind of lining around that area, they can just bulge through. And having hemorrhoids is not a big deal. It usually doesn't cause any trouble. It's just if they get really, really large where it's actually obstructing the anal canal, or you can actually, an internal hemorrhoid, if it gets really, really large, it can actually pop out of the anus, and that becomes a problem, and that needs to be fixed.
Sounds unpleasant.
That would be very unpleasant.
So did you mean to say earlier that if you're bleeding higher up in your digestive tract, that any blood that went through would basically get digested and you wouldn't notice it?
And it would be black.
Okay.
So it would turn black. It would turn black and tarry. We call it melena, and it has a distinctive smell too. I mean, not that you would notice, but I would know.
Because you're an expert, yeah.
At this point, there's actually two things you can tell by smell, and one is blood. Okay. And two is there's a specific GI infection called C. diff, which is it stands for a bacteria called Clostridium difficile.
Okay.
And it can be part of the normal gut flora because we have millions of bacteria, billions of bacteria in our gut.
Yeah.
But this one in particular, if it has a particular gene that secretes a toxin, that can actually cause development of severe diarrhea. It's like profound diarrhea. People can die from this. And that you can tell by smell also. A lot of nurses, you'll go into room, nurses will be like, "Hi, doctor, I think he has C. diff because I can smell it." And that happens a lot. You can actually train. Apparently,
it's so horrendous that it burns into your brain, or
no? It's just it's a distinctive smell. I mean, just it doesn't smell like regular poop.
Okay, so it smells like Pine Sol mixed with Pepto-Bismol,
something like that. Honestly, you know what's sad is that I can't actually even describe the smell.
It's indescribable.
I've smelled it, and I'm like, I think this smells like C. diff a little bit, and you just kind of get used to it, and then you're like, oh, there it is.
Okay, no, that's fair. I was trying to describe chocolate versus vanilla the other day, and I have no idea how to. You would think that would be possible, but
no.
I can't tell you how to describe, like if somebody had never tasted either one.
Exactly.
I don't know how. Yeah.
What are you going to do? And they're both sweet. And, I don't know. But blood, So if you had, say, if you're drinking a lot of alcohol, I mean, what can end up happening is that you can have some inflammation of the stomach, and or as I said, alcohol is associated with increased acid reflux. So, that's probably what it was. You just had a lot of acid reflux. I mean, you said you weren't sleeping very well. You were drinking a lot more than usual. You probably weren't eating as well. So you put all that together, and you're just probably more at risk for heartburn at that point.
Is it Hennessy?
I don't remember what we were drinking.
It's all a little hazy.
Afterwards, my friend's aunt, she prescribed some egg yolk milk tonic that she said would work.
Is she a witch doctor?
Yeah. She was super kind. She
recommended.
Yeah. She made some of that concoction, had me drink it for, I think it was for a week or two. But I think it was more the sleep that I said, all right, that week was too crazy. Let's get some regular sleep. And it went away eventually.
I mean, that's definitely part of it. But also, I mean, you anything that's like milk based, that's, kind of basic, it'll help. That kind of helps coat the stomach a little bit like that. That's supposedly supposed to work. So that's why egg yolk with some milk and yogurt, that sort of thing. In fact, actually, if you look at South Indians are supposed to eat. South Indians I'm from South India. We tend to be darker, shorter, not as good looking as a Northern Indian counterparts, apparently. Because if you look at Bollywood, so there's actually apparently there's two movie industries in India. There's a Bollywood and there's a Tollywood, and Tollywood is South India and Bollywood is North India. Okay. When I was a kid growing up in India, in Tollywood movies, you would have guys that are like fairly good looking guys, 5'10", 5'9", or something,
with awesome hair.
Yeah, with awesome hair, a normal build or whatnot, but they would be kicking the ass of 50 people. Literally, there'd be 50 people in a line running to try to kill them. Yeah. And they would be beating the shit out of all of them, and it'd be so cool. And then North Indian movies, you'd have these 6'3" gods of men, basically. Yeah. And all they'd be doing is singing and dancing. And I was just what the hell? Great singing. What the hell? This is just a romance movie. There's not. I mean, you see this guy, and you're like, oh man, he's probably gonna kick somebody's ass, but no, it's just a lot of.
You go straight to the pussy.
This was back in the day. I think there's they're a lot better about like different types of movies now, or even like 20 years ago. I'm pretty sure there's going to be some movies that are like, he's a little douche and he doesn't know what he's talking about. But this is what I remember growing up.
So after Slumdog Millionaire, there was a renaissance in Indian movie making? Or is that an American movie?
I think that's an American movie.
Okay, sorry. Take it all back.
I think it's actually, I have no idea. You know, now that I think about it, I have no idea if that's an Indian or a Bollywood movie. I mean, because all the actors are Indian. Weird.
I haven't watched it. I'm just making sweeping broad claims that I have no substantiation.
Just like me.
Yeah. Big's not a real doctor. Welcome to the Talks with Lim Lee show. I met Big once at a bar and thought he'd be a great podcast guest.
And that is a true story.
Is there any other wisdom that you would have? Maybe I'm thinking on the lines of, is there things common people should, that you wish they would know too?
Yeah, stop eating so much.
Besides that one, is there something?
Once I can convince myself to do that, then I will try to convince others to do that. My God, yesterday, wait, was
that a buffet?
I was at a buffet. And then I had pizza for dinner. God damn it. What am I doing? And then I ate pizza for lunch today. And then I'm going to a talk this evening, and I'm going to have a dinner at like some Fleming Steakhouse or some ridiculously fancy place. And
you can get the asparagus with it, and it'll balance it out, right?
Have you ever watched those that cooking show with that dude that unfortunately passed away? That CNN dude,
Bourdain.
Yeah, Anthony Bourdain.
Yeah.
Apparently, he once said that restaurant vegetables taste so much better than vegetables you make at home because they use so much butter.
Oh
yes.
Yeah.
So the sheer amount of calories of a salad in a restaurant, even if you feel like you're doing better you feel better about yourself, it's like 1,000 calories. You might as well just have that burger and make yourself feel good instead of just feel like you're eating healthy.
Torture yourself. I think that's a large part of restaurants in general is if you ever watch them cook, they'll dump in more salt or more sugar than you would ever sanely put on your own food.
Yeah.
Because then it comes out tasting amazing.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're going to go out to a restaurant, then just go wild. Don't restrict yourself. Just every other day, try to restrict yourself a little bit. That's usually what I tell
Advice from a doctor.
So, I like to think of my role as a physician is as your advisor. I'm here I'm here to let you live your best life. I'm not going to try to restrict you unless I absolutely have to. Like even people that unless you have really, really bad liver disease, in which case then I say you can't have a drop of alcohol.
Yeah.
If people have some slightly elevated liver tests or they have some other liver disease or something like that, I usually tell them no alcohol for the most part. But if you have a special occasion or something, you want to have like a drink, please. Okay, you can do that. But otherwise, stay away. And it's the same with people who have heartburn. I'm like, I know you like coffee, but 3 cups of coffee a day is a lot. And you have, and especially if that's making your heartburn worse, try to go down to like once every few days instead of every day or something like that, just to get you fixed. I wish more people did it that way, where I'm your advisor. I'm not here to like force you to do something because I can't.
Yeah. Do you happen to? Oh, this is probably out of your wheelhouse. It's just stem cell surgeries. What do you think about that? I
have absolutely no idea. Unfortunately. Yeah, so that's one area I don't know anything about.
How about this? Does it seem legit or seem like bullshit?
So thank you. When they say, I'm not sure exactly, surgery, there's so many different ways to do surgery and so many different things. The closest that I would say that I've come across when it comes to stem cell surgery is I went to this GI conference called the Liver Meeting in DC in 2017. And at that time, there was a German company that was trying to build a 3D model of a liver.
Okay.
And have stem cells in that, and then maybe try to force them to differentiate into liver cells.
Okay.
And they'll just have the architecture pre-made so that they can just arrange themselves in the way that a normal liver is supposed to. And then that way we would
just grow extra livers.
Yeah, I mean, you can grow an extra liver, and if you can do that, I mean, right now in the U.S. we do roughly 8,000 to 9,000 liver transplants a year.
Right.
But there's like 13,000 people on the waiting list, or 12 to 13,000, and then there's like double that number of people trying to get on a waiting list.
When you're done, I have a burning question about this.
Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Oh, are you done with it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the usual way. So if you can print livers, or if you can make stem cell based organs like that, then for transplant, that would revolutionize transplant. Now Now I wouldn't even tell you stop drinking. You know, are you drinking too much? Well, if you can afford a $1 million liver transplant, go for it.
Gotcha.
You just said $1 million to get a new liver?
In the U.S., unfortunately.
Well, used
Something
liver.
Yeah, unfortunately.
$1 million for a used liver.
Because if you think about it, it's not just the liver. You got to get the liver. You got to get the medicines. You got to pay the surgeon. You got to pay someone to get the liver. You got to pay for the nurse that's actually going to take care of you.
Yeah.
And they really should. There really should be some of that budget should go to your caretaker. Because for the first 3 months of the transplant, you're not going anywhere. Someone's going to have to make sure you're taking all the meds properly, and someone's going to got to be there. In fact, that's actually a criteria. If you don't have anyone that can take care of you 24/7, the first month or two, you can't get a liver transplant.
Because they don't want to waste a good liver on.
Absolutely, because I mean,
going to die anyway.
How are they going to get? How will they know if that person's got sick or something?
Right. So if it costs $1 million, does the person who's given up the liver get any money?
They're dead.
So we're harvesting donated livers.
Yeah, that's the vast majority. About 90% of liver transplants are what we call deceased donor liver transplants.
I think we would get a lot more organ donors if even $1,000 out of that $1 million, like, because it's on, like, is it the DMV that says, do you want to be an organ donor? Mm-hmm. Why would I pick yes? I get nothing. I literally get nothing. I
mean, other than
if it was $1,000, I bet you most people would say yes.
I guess that's fair. I mean,
look how many organs you could get out of a dead dude, right?
Where are you going to get that from? And the other thing is
for the $1 million it costs for the liver.
Well, I guess that's the case. That's fair. But then
1/10 of 1% is too much of that to go to. Or you know what? Raise the price by 1,000.
I wouldn't mind. Frankly, I wouldn't care if that got more people to be organ donors. I'd be like, all right, that's fine by me. If you want to allocate some of that budget for that, sure.
Yeah. How many people would check yes for $1,000?
For their family, it'd be $1,000 for their family.
No, give me the 1,000 now.
Oh, prepaid.
Yeah, so to get that organ donor, organ donor.
There's organs waiting here. Pretty healthy.
The one thing is as you age, those organs do become less valuable.
Offer to 18-year-olds, right?
Yeah. Right. So that would be where it's
offer it to motorcycle riders.
I mean, honestly, I feel like we should.
We get 2,000. Coming up sooner. No, those are better bet.
Those people should pay us because at this point we're waiting for them to crash and die.
Yeah. No, as far as I know, motorcycling is a pretty risky.
Oh, it's terrible. It's super risky. I mean, it looks cool, but damn, man.
It's what stopped. I would love to. It just looks like a bad.
Yeah, you make one mistake and now you're splayed out and paralyzed for life.
Yeah, not even if you make a mistake, if others hitting you.
Some schmuck doesn't even notice you. I mean, because you see I don't know if you've ever, you guys ever driven in LA?
Yes.
LA traffic is actually, I never had road rage until I lived in LA. That was when I first developed road rage. But the thing, you see those motorcyclists that are like weaving in between cars and bumper to bumper. They're just like going straight. Yeah. And no one notices them and they're going like 30, 40 miles an hour. And then someone tries to turn and boom. I've seen that actually happen once. It's ridiculous.
I mean, but even at 40 miles an hour doesn't sound too bad. Like motorcycles get fast real quick.
Right. But I mean, the human body is not designed to move at 40 miles an hour. So when if you get
stop immediately from 40.
So I mean, if you're still on the bike, then whatever, you get a dent on the bike. But if you don't notice it and you're not paying attention, you fly off the bike and now you're doesn't take much to actually hurt or like paralyze a person. Yeah.
I think there was like a Freakonomics or something, or one of these, anyways, some kind of study of New York pedestrians, like New York City pedestrians. Mm-hmm. And if you're obese, you're less likely to like break bones and have as much impact injury getting hit by a taxi or something because you got more cushion.
That makes sense, right? I mean, because physics of it, if you get hit, whether you get hit on the side or the front, it's usually going to be in the belly or a little bit below, and you have a lot more fat there if you're obese as compared to
you have a crumple zone.
Yeah,
and exactly. But on the other hand, if you do get hit and you end up in the hospital, if you're obese, then it's a lot harder to survive at that point.
So, I mean, I guess that makes sense because that might mean that you're at a higher speed collision. And
you got hit hard enough to get past your...
So that's probably, maybe.
Yeah. Sorry, all the things we were talking about made me think of that.
What was your burning question, though?
Oh, why can't we give money to organ donors?
Oh, I think because organ donation is that just like by the state? Because you're registering to the state DMV, so I'm guessing it's the state. So the state would have to find the money to get to this because the state doesn't get paid. That $1 million doesn't go to the state.
I'm saying where the millions going, there could be $1,000 in there for.
I mean, if you wanted to put that into like a state pocket so that the state could fund that, I frankly, I mean, as long as the math makes sense, I think that's fine. But
it's the same way with adoption, right? Doesn't it cost a shit ton of money to adopt a kid in the U.S.?
Absolutely.
But if you put your kid up for adoption, you don't get any money, right?
No.
So, I don't know. I come from an accounting background, so I'm like, so who's making off with all the money?
That's it.
If the seller isn't getting it, then
so when I say it's $1 million, so like if you look at the nitty gritty of a transplant, right? So what do you got to pay for? So you're paying for the surgeon.
Yeah.
You're paying for the liver doctor that's going to take care of you before and after. You're paying for the hospital bed, which, by the way, hospital beds, like ICU beds, cost anywhere from like $3,000 to $5,000 a day, and on the floor it's like $1,000 to $2,000 a day, something like that. I mean, and these numbers actually vary by hospital to hospital, state to state, and larger hospitals, it probably will charge you more because it is a larger hospital and they can command a higher fee. And again, it's all very opaque. Unfortunately, it really shouldn't be.
People pay more for nice looking hospitals.
People pay more for nice looking hospitals, for nice looking, for the nice name. So you said I got treated at Mayo Clinic versus I got treated at Mountain View Hospital. People like Mayo Clinic. Oh, this is a internationally renowned medical organization.
So we just need a John Hopkins in Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, there's a Cleveland Clinic in Vegas, and there's also Loma Linda actually has a liver center in Vegas. So there's a few of those.
They're big in San Bernardino, or is that not their home?
Loma Linda that is where they are, but they actually they developed the liver outreach program in Vegas because Vegas doesn't have their own liver transplant. So they did a very good job. The person that actually did it.
We need some scripts to come up here.
That would be cool. I don't know if they do transplant. I know UCSD does.
And some cedar Sinai. We need some of those in town.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Get a big actor to come and pay for it. They would because I think they had a tower. One of their ICU towers is literally like I think the Steven Spielberg Tower or something because he put like $1 million or something into them.
Yeah. Who were we talking to? We were talking about who's Jewish actors. We just need Jewish actors to pay for a Cedar Sinai here in Vegas.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
I mean, we have so many casino owners that have like billions of. I didn't even know this. Resort Worlds was like $3 billion casino.
I heard 4, but
or 4. I mean, like I didn't know casinos were that much money, and apparently someone was telling me like in any given day, like $1 billion usually exchanges hands in Vegas or a week or whatever, something like that. Which is still, I mean, just obnoxious amounts of money at that point.
Yeah, there's a lot of gambling going on. But yeah, I mean, casinos like hospitals, there's a whole lot of associated costs.
Exactly, and that's the thing is that when you actually get to the nitty gritty. There's way more. I mean, and you got to think the anesthesiologist. I mean, literally, a pair of gloves that you buy for the hospital versus a pair of gloves that you buy for yourself. It's like 1 cent for the gloves from Walmart, whereas it's like 10 cents just because it's being sold to a hospital.
So you need extra blood, right?
Yeah,
is blood usually expensive per pint?
It is because again, there's associated costs. You got to actually have a nurse that takes that blood from somebody else. They got to get they've got to rent out the facility where they're getting the blood and stuff like that. So there's just so many different charges in any given medical encounter that it's obnoxious. I mean,
well, so I donate blood frequently.
Yeah.
So I'll donate a pint of blood, and then the Red Cross will let you track it on an app, and it tells me it went to a hospital in Utah. And then I think, well, I bet that person paid for the blood.
Yeah.
Well, how come I don't get anything? I could get like $5 or something.
Again, doing it out of the goodness of your heart. But yeah, I mean, yeah, medical costs.
I just feel like that's a racket. If there's such high costs on the tail end, why can't there be some remuneration for the actual source?
That's a good question. And
it'd be like if we're paying $80 for French fries and the farmer who grew the potato doesn't get any of that money.
True.
He just says extra potatoes.
I don't know. I don't actually know.
Okay.
But regardless, yeah, medical costs are kind of exorbitant and a little ridiculous. And
are there other countries that do it better?
Well, when we say do it better, it's that the consumer does not see the cost the way that we do in the majority of other countries. I don't. I mean, hell, when I used to live in New York and in med school. I had a few roommates that were from France, and they were able to just carry over their French insurance to the U.S. Like they didn't pay for, if they needed to go to the ER or anything, it was actually the French government that was paying for them.
Nice.
So I feel like other countries do definitely do a better job of getting people health care access better. But I mean, the U.S. healthcare system being what it is, I just don't know how you're going to fix all of the costs in U.S. healthcare. And also, I feel like we subsidize healthcare for other countries in the sense that, I mean, you can make a lot of money in the U.S. that you just can't make elsewhere. And if you change that to a state like a nationwide insurance plans, how is that going to work? I mean, are other countries now going to have to pay a lot more? Because like there are drugs that you can get in other countries that are literally like there's pegylated interferon. It used to be an old treatment for hepatitis C.
Yeah.
It's like $12,000 a day or $12,000 a month or something ridiculous like that.
Wow.
In the U.S., but it was like $1,000 for a whole year course in Egypt.
Wow. Can I go live in Egypt for a year if I have Hep C?
I mean, we have much better treatments than that now, so I would never recommend that. Now it's just a pill a day that doesn't cause any symptoms.
Egypt's a sketchy place if you're American.
Probably.
Well, so America supports 3 highly profitable industries, right? The hospital industries, the insurance industry, and the pharmaceutical industries.
Yeah, and I think the U.S. public loses out because of that. Overall, I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. There was a story of this lady whose husband. This was on NPR. Her husband was like. Playing baseball, or he was a baseball coach or something. He got hit by a ball on the hand or something like that. Almost like smashed his hand, was broken. She checked her insurance to see which hospital was in network for her insurance.
Yes.
And so she went to that hospital. So she took her husband to that hospital. And she's like, great, I did my thing. I did my due diligence.
Yeah, went to the right place, yeah.
She got stuck with like an extra $500 bill. And she's like, what the hell? Why the fuck do I have another bill? And it's apparently the ER doctors that was treating her husband was part of a separate group that is not affiliated with the hospital. So while the hospital got their money back, the ER doctor did not. And that's something that, how the hell is this woman supposed to know that?
Yeah. Yeah,
and
it's crazy.
Why is she paying for that? Like that should not be allowed. But
I know how we can fix it. We need a system of federal hospitals to slowly supplant the existing hospital system.
Good luck with that.
Well, we already have a system of federal hospitals called
VA.
VA, yeah.
The VA is it's a good hospital system in some ways, but it's not good in other ways. They're definitely a little bit slower in adopting newer techniques.
Sure, so, but if it's free, then
for veterans, you're right. You're absolutely right, and that definitely is something to be. There's something to be said about that. That it is free, and therefore they can get good quality care.
Yeah, I don't need cutting edge laser experimental.
Not even that. It's like they take forever just to even adopt electronic medical records. Just basic stuff like, oh, this ex-soldier went from Seattle to Vegas, but I have no idea what was done in Seattle. Even though they went to a freaking Seattle VA, I have to wait until, that stuff. I mean, they're a lot better about it now. And I think they're switching or upgrading their systems and things like that. But
there's room for improvement.
Yeah, there's definitely room for improvement, but I agree. I mean, if you can get a nationalized healthcare that would streamline it and make sure that at the very least people's bills would make more sense.
Yeah.
Then fair enough.
And then,
unfortunately, there's a lot of players that would lose out a lot of money on that, and that's probably why it's never going to get implemented.
Well, yeah, but does the Army train doctors?
Yeah.
So we could be making hospitals and doctors. We already have the ability to make hospitals and doctors.
Yes.
Federally.
Yes. Yeah. Can we do it? Yes. Will we do it? That's the question that needs to be answered.
Because money buys the lawmakers?
Unfortunately.
Okay.
That's definitely part of it. I mean,
I knew I liked you, Vic.
also medical reporting is so bad in the U.S. It's so bad.
Medical report. What is medical
So
reporting?
there was an article that came out on. I like NPR.
Like news articles
Yes.
about. Okay, yeah.
I like NPR. Overall, I think NPR does fairly good, reasonably unbiased. It's definitely got a little bit of a liberal bent to it, but a little bit reasonably unbiased, but
Fairly fact-based.
Fairly fact-based. When it comes to their medical reporting, sometimes though they can get a little bit off base and make things look very awkward. So there was this one article I read about. They like to do articles about people of color. Which again, I think that's fine.
So it's a liberal thing.
It is. So this one article was about how when we're looking at dermatologic disorders, so skin disorders,
Yes.
all skin disorders are usually much more representative in Caucasians than they are in others. So like all the textbooks usually have them all in with white skin.
Skin color doesn't matter unless you're a dermatologist.
There you go.
Then it really matters.
Then it matters. Because, yeah, I mean, like, how do you, the same rashes, the eczema on a black guy versus eczema on a white guy are going to look different. So yeah, I mean, it's a fair point to say that, making sure that, that a dermatologist can actually recognize different skin conditions and different tones is important.
I got Asian freckles.
Exactly. So, the way they worded that is like, and they always start with an individualized story, right? Like Mary Sue was taking her son to the doctor the other day because of a rash that she noticed on her son's ass, and
It's a white kid already, I can tell.
and the kid was black, and therefore when she went to her family doctor had no idea what was going on and said it was probably nothing, and she became concerned because she was looking it up, and then she realized on the internet that all rashes were listed only in white colors, and that doesn't represent her, and that in and of itself is not wrong. Is that then they go to a doctor, and the doctor is like, yeah, and they'll go to a dermatology, and this was a dermatology resident. Who's like, yeah, I get a lot of cases where the family doctor has no clue what they're doing.
Wait, so resident means not a full experienced doctor yet. He's a brand new.
Right. Okay. They're still in training, and they could be at the tail end of their training or whatever. But the bottom line is, so like she literally said, yeah, family medicine, to the effect that family medicine doctors don't know too much. And I routinely get rashes from people of color because family medicine doctors are not trained this way and they don't know anything, sort of thing. And it's like, dude.
Yeah.
Why would you say it like that? Like, can you think about this for a second? Because now you as a patient, let's say someone else listening to NPR is like, well, my family doctor is a dumbass. I'm not going to go to them for a rash. I'm going to immediately request a referral to somebody else. And it's like, 99% of rashes are nothing. It means nothing. Please don't discount your family doctor's opinion because of that. And then they ended the article with this woman who is not a medically trained professional who decided she would develop an app that would compile rashes of people of color so that people can look them up, which is great. I mean, I think that's a great idea, but it's done by a non-healthcare professional.
Yeah.
If someone says, oh, this looks like eczema on me, but it's actually skin cancer, what are they going to do? They're going to sue this lady? This lady doesn't know anything. So
it's problematic.
Yeah, the whole article from start to I was just by the end of the article I was foaming mad. I was just like, you guys, come on. I was really tempted to just write a letter and just be like, guys, please do a better job, or at least ask some people. Don't throw other doctors under the bus.
Yeah.
So I'm hearing a theme of people going to the internet to try to self-diagnose. Mm-hmm. Do we need to? Can we advise people how to do that less confidently? Is there? I don't think. What would you say on that?
I don't think there's an easy way to tell people not to. And I've never told a patient don't look up stuff on the internet. I think the problem is that you'll get the occasional patient who's like a hypochondriac who'll look it up, and they'll think, oh my gosh, this is cancer. This is what it says it's cancer, and therefore I have cancer. And the doctor says this isn't cancer. Yeah. It's just really like, as long as they're willing to keep an open mind and realize that, okay, you Google that for 10 minutes. I've done this for 10 years. Yeah. So yes, I understand that what you've learned is important, and I think one thing is that there are a lot of doctors that just discount that. Oh, you just Googled that, you know nothing, and therefore that. But some sort of conversation between the two, where it's like, okay, you Google that, but here's the actual evidence that says that this makes some sense, but it's not always cancer, because all these other these symptoms could also reflect other problems and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
I always like it when people at least do their due diligence, because at the end of the day, as I said, I'm an advisor. I can't force you to do anything. It's up to you about your own health.
Well, I think what's more applicable is once I did a blood test and they said, oh, you got high triglycerides, so we're going to prescribe you fenofibrate. I had no idea what a triglyceride was. So then I went home and looked up what is a triglyceride. What is it? So I did some homework on understanding that better. But maybe the difference is I wasn't diagnosing myself in any way.
Exactly. And that's fine. If you Google something and you have a question because of a symptom you've had and you come to the office and you had questions to come in with and you were like, because I get that. We get a lot, especially the older patients. They'll actually have like a notepad that they've written a lot of questions down or a lot of symptoms that they had down.
You said only old people use notepads now?
When I first did residency, I had to go back to writing my notes instead of actually typing my notes.
Yeah.
And for the first like week, I was like, my God, I can't even write anymore. But yeah, I mean, it's just
go with the program, VA.
I know, right? But yeah, I mean, if you do that, I'm okay with that. It's the where it becomes a problem is people who are convinced that they have something, and you can't unconvince them of that, and that's where you just run it becomes a headache for everybody involved, is because the person doesn't believe you. You're trying to educate the person, and you're trying to be non-confrontational, but after a while, even you'll get a little bit irritated, and it ends up being a much longer patient encounter, and no one wins in that situation.
I don't know what to tell you. Your black rash is not a problem. It's just a rash.
I think that's kind of the summary, what you guys talked about, how I felt with Dr. Daisley. I did a podcast with Dr. Daisley where he loves it when his patients come in and know a decent amount of their symptoms and the research on Google and what they could decipher as good information. He seemed to say that it was, if I remember correctly, it was something like less than 5% of his patients were the ones that were, they come in and they're like, this is what I have, and I don't care about what you have to say.
Yeah.
So,
So in any population, you're going to have 5% knuckleheads.
That's what,
always.
Well, actually, when he said, it almost felt like I was surprised the number was that low. I was expecting him to say
like 30% of people are.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Vast majority of people are much more reasonable.
Yeah.
I have had unreasonable patients only a few times in my career. So usually Googling is, I actually definitely recommend people to Google their symptoms.
Can you hook me up with some Ivermectin?
No.
No. Should we not go there?
I mean, goddamn. I don't know what to say. I don't know. What's crazy is not that you say that, is that I was just reading a fucking article on Reddit about a fucking pulmonary critical care doctor that was actually volunteered to go to New York during the first wave and was doing all this craziness and is now on the Ivermectin train.
Oh.
So I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What do we do with you people?
Pulmonary is a heart doctor?
No, they're lung doctors.
Lungs. Okay.
So pulmonary doctors usually tend to be the ones that usually staff the ICUs. So yeah, it's because pulmonary medicine, because they deal with vents all the time, and they're much more knowledgeable about the physiology of it. So they also do critical care.
Gotcha. Okay.
Most of the time, you don't have to be, but
so could we sum it up as, based on the wisdom of the medical industry, as you're a full doctor, you're a real deal doctor. There doesn't seem to be a good case for ivermectin being a useful. Yeah,
especially at the doses that most people are trying to take them at, because again, they call it the horse dewormer, because I mean, ivermectin is used for things. I've actually had to use it once. Oh. Well, actually, I don't know if it was. I was thinking about using it once, but
I considered it.
Luckily, I am not an infectious disease doctor who specializes in this, and I just sent the patient to them. Okay. So, this patient of mine had a liver issue, had liver numbers that were abnormal, and we did a biopsy, and he had a parasite growing in his liver. So, and he came from Ethiopia, never thought about it, and it's actually fairly common over there. So we had to treat it, and we would use something, maybe not ivermectin, but something similar to that, to treat that parasite. But again, humans and horses are different, and whereas the doses that they use for horses, we're not going to use in humans, and that's what they're taking over there. But again,
it's a horse-sized pill,
right? Well, yeah.
What was the parasite? He had some kind of worm on his liver?
It was oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the name right now. It was.
Was it a crab-looking thing?
No. Oh my. We even wrote a case report about this, and I can't. And I'm blanking on it.
Ethiopia. We'll come back to it.
Yeah, we'll come back to it. It'll come to my brain later on. But yeah. So I don't like ivermectin. I mean, it's COVID is a virus. We don't really have great treatments for most viruses in general. Yeah. And I would just say, treatment of COVID is really just get the damn vaccine. the vast majority of people, if you just get the vaccine, you're going to be fine. I mean, luckily we're getting cases down to like less than 20,000 cases a day now, but you'd be surprised how many people still just hesitant. And I feel like most of the medical community have now just given up. Like, you see these articles all the time and whatnot, but the vast majority of the people that I know that are either physicians or nurses that are on board, they're just like, I stopped even asking or paying attention. If they have COVID, I'm just going to assume they didn't get vaccinated at this point if they're in the hospital. Because it's like
that's how clear cut the difference is.
It's like 99.6% of people that are people that are in the hospital are people that aren't vaccinated.
Yeah.
So what was that number?
It's like 99. It was like 99.6, and this was back in like July. I don't know if the numbers are probably lower now, but still, vast majority of people are going to be people that are unvaccinated. And we had this one patient in our ICU who was a nurse herself, and she and her colleagues. I was going to ask
about that. Yeah.
She and her colleagues had made a pact to not get vaccinated, and she died from that. And her colleagues still wouldn't get vaccinated.
Well, they made the witches deal.
Yeah, and you're just like, what? If I can't convince you, and a colleague that has now died from the virus because she didn't get vaccinated, I'm never gonna be able to convince you.
And you work in hospitals.
And they work in hospitals, and they work with babies. They're like postpartum nurses. But so it's just overall, I've also just given up. I'm just like, at this point, I'm like, well,
yeah. But there's some surprising number of hospital workers that don't want to get vaccinated, right? Yeah. Or didn't, right?
No, still don't. There's some. I mean, I think among physicians, the percentage is actually fairly low. It's like 5%.
It was that one guy, the one pulmonary guy.
Yeah, there's that, and there's a few others. In fact, the surgeon, the head state department of health official in Florida refuses to get vaccinated and refuses to wear a mask.
Well, that's Florida, right?
Yeah,
that's like the most anti-vax state.
It is. It's definitely one of the most. It's on that belt. If there is.
That's where Mar-a-Lago is, right?
Yes, it is.
I hadn't made that connection before. Like literally, I'd never considered that the dethroned Orange King lives down in Florida. Wow,
it's terrible. And like he was seeing the article was about how he was seeing a state legislature or state senator or whatever who had cancer. And she was like, look, we need to have a discussion, but I need you to wear a mask because I had cancer and I'm immunocompromised, and I'd like you to wear a mask so that we can actually talk about something. And he refused.
Well, I mean, he has a whole life and society riding on that allegiance, right? That affiliation to his people.
Which is the problem. Which is really a problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, wear a mask when you're in
crowded places,
get vaccinated, and hopefully we'll go back to normal. That's really what.
But the crazy lack of logic there is, say I'm an anti-vax, anti-mask, right? If I get jacked up by COVID, where am I going? I'm going to the fucking hospital. So now I'm going to go ask you to help me. But you already told me what the key was to avoid this. But now I fucked it all up, and now I got to come to you. So how does that not logically? We've seen it happen enough times that the logic isn't there.
I
have no idea why.
On a Vice News documentary, they interviewed a nurse, and her response I thought was a great summary of what you guys are getting at. She said some countries it's as bad as 7% death with COVID if you don't have the vaccine, and then as in America I think it's 1% death if you don't have the vaccine because of our hospitals are able to keep people alive. And she said that means 93% of the people are right with whatever drug they choose, whether they chose ivermectin, where they're
not going to die.
Yeah, whether they're I think is it Colombia? I forget which country's using bleach.
Jesus Christ.
They're shooting bleach into they're drinking bleach, I think it is. And it's so bad that country, God, was it Colombia? I forget. It's gone so bad that government actually has okayed their population, said, if you're in a hospital and you ask your doctor to let you drink bleach, the doctor has to give you the bleach.
That's so pathetic.
So then in America, that statistic back is 99%. Whatever you do, 99% you are correct, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you could believe.
But bleach kills viruses, right?
That's.
Yes, it does.
They're drinking like a.
It also kills people, I guess, is the other problem.
It definitely does. Definitely does. And yeah, I don't like to see.
You're halfway there. It kills the virus. Effectively kills coronavirus and you.
I mean, really, if they wanted to kill the virus, they should inhale the bleach. That's the new trick. Is that now you can inhale? No, please don't. Crap! Please don't try to inhale bleach. You will die.
Wasn't that how like World War I like gases were like
Agent Orange and those? I mean it's crazy stuff. I really have no idea what to do about convincing people, and that's why I said, I mean, I don't think anybody tries to convince people anymore. It's just you just kind of go in and do what you got to do and then leave.
My cousin is the head of an ER out on the East Coast, and it just came up. I wasn't trying to talk about this, just like I wasn't trying to now, but he was taking us to the beach for the day. It was great, right? And so it came up, and I'm like, so what's your wisdom on this? And he goes, look, I tell people, obviously, if you can get the vaccine, just get it. It's great. Just get the vaccine. Like, but you know what? I tell people to stop doing heroin every day too. I tell people not to drink too much, and they don't listen to me. So, whatever. I mean, who am I to tell you?
Add it to the list at this point.
Yeah, I'm just an ER doctor. What do I know? So you go ahead and do whatever you want. I'll see you next week.
Exactly. And then really, it's become one of those. I think really what grinds my gears is how they're taking that out on other people that are trying to max. Like if you take it out on me again, I've literally, I think the funniest patient encounter one of the funniest patient encounters I've ever had. I was a resident, and we were trying to get an IV line in this lady who needed pain medication because she had she was an IV drug user, and she had a really bad abscess in her arm from MRSA, and she was in so much pain.
What's an abscess from MSRNA?
MRSA is it's a bacteria. It's an antibiotic resistant bacteria. So it's staph. So MRSA stands for methicillin resistant Staph aureus.
Okay.
And you can get cellulitis or infection of the skin with non-MRSA staph as well as MRSA staph. And just MRSA staph will more likely to give you an abscess or just like a pus-filled.
Oh, okay. So if it's resistent, what do you just?
You have to use a different antibiotic. So we do have some antibiotics that do work against that. So we were giving her the antibiotics, and we drain the abscess and stuff. But she was just in a lot of pain because of this. Yeah. And she's a heroin user, so she's more tolerant of narcotics than usual too. So we wanted to give her some IV pain medicines, but she had literally destroyed all her veins because she's an IV drug user. And we were trying to get out. We were trying to find
even between the toes.
Even between the toes.
Holy shit!
She did. She
found them all.
Found them all. Whatever she could, she did.
Wow.
Except the largest veins, which we weren't going to touch those just yet. But we were trying to get an IV line. We couldn't. And this lady was screaming at me. She's like, "You have not tried hard enough to get an IV line in me."
I do this all the time.
What the hell? You have not tried hard enough. We were like, okay, look, we've literally gone through 10 IV needles, and I've tried. The nurses tried. The nurse is way better than me. They do this so much more often than I do. The other doctors tried. This doctor tried. Like, what else do you want? I mean, like, we're gonna keep trying, but you gotta wait until the morning, because the thing was, this was at like 3 a.m.
You're poking too many holes in her, right?
Yeah, and she would refuse. She didn't want to wait until 7 until there was like a more experienced nurse that could put a little bit more dedicated IV line, and so she wanted us to do it right then and there.
Drug users don't want to wait.
She's yelling she was screaming at the top of her lungs, saying, "You have not tried every possible mechanism. What the hell is wrong with you? Do everything." And it's like,
work harder.
I don't know what to say to you anymore, man. I have tried.
That's fantastic.
Oh man,
is this where you wanted to go with this? Because I thought I was charmed by Vig when I met him. I thought he was an intelligent dude. I thought he'd be a great speaker. Did you want to come on just for fun, or was there anything?
No, it was actually just. I mean, honestly, I was definitely a little bit drunk when you were asking, so I wasn't. I didn't actually expect anything to come of it, but at the same time, I like talking. Overall, and if I can talk and educate a little bit, right? But if I can talk and educate a little bit, that's always fun too. So back to your point, as far as a few things that I'd like people to know about the world of GI. So first thing is everything in moderation, whether it's food, calories, alcohol, most things. Obviously, if you have certain diseases, then you're going to have to talk to your doctor about which things that you should absolutely avoid. My specialty, I did do even more specialized training in liver disease, so I can usually talk more about that and like tell them like, okay, these are the things you need to do for that. The second thing is get your damn colon cancer screening, please. I don't know why. If I see anybody die of colon cancer, unless they're like 95 years old and halfway checked out as it is, it's terrible. It's sad to see someone die from a cancer that is almost entirely preventable. And
he actually told me that at the bar as I was pounding a pitcher of margarita.
Yeah, it's true. It's really sad just seeing those kind of cancers, because I could prevent that for you. I could have just,
right.
If I just did your colonoscopy or someone did your colonoscopy and found the polyp, then you don't have to worry about it. So that's the second thing.
But that one's only the suggestion is in your 50s and 60s.
45 and above.
45 and above.
Yeah.
So it's only in a bad scenario. You're young and you get it, and it's
usually, as I said, there's usually some sort of family history. So like if, say, for example, my father had colon cancer at the age of 50. Then the recommendation is for me, I should get my first colonoscopy at age 40. If you have certain diseases such as inflammatory bowel diseases, or you get inflammation of the colon or something like that, usually there's a recommendation that you should get a colonoscopy within 7 years. Well, usually they'll do a colonoscopy for diagnosis of the disease, but they'll also recommend doing a screening colonoscopy for polyps and things like that within 7 years. And so yeah, there's all of the basic screening is super important. And avoiding doctors is not going to make the problem go. My colleague actually just saw a patient who was diagnosed with rectal cancer and let it go for 2 years and comes back to us now with the cancer has now grown so large that she can't poop anymore. And we had to put in a stent. I mean, it's just bad. Cancer doesn't just disappear just because you want to think about it. So get your damn screening, and that'll make life a lot easier. For everyone involved, including you. And
wait, so colon screening is for men and women?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. I was thinking male but
it's for both men and women.
Okay. So if you're Black Panther's kids, you want to get screened at like 18,
like 25. Yeah, really. Okay. It's absolutely true. I mean, like when your first degree relative has had cancer that young, I would 100% say if I was their kid by the age 20, by 20, or I mean, I guess he got it at 35. So by 25, you should absolutely have your first colonoscopy.
Gotcha. It's exciting.
Those are the two main things that I would say, please. And during the holidays, there is a trend.
Suicide?
No. Oh. Well, I mean, there's actually a trend towards that, but there's a trend of people eating too much too fast.
Yeah.
And what ends up happening is that we actually do see there are studies on these that show that people develop food impactions in their esophagus in the holidays more often. And what food impactions are is literally you just eat, there's different ways to get food impactions, but a young and healthy person like you or I, if we got a food impaction, it's because we inhaled the food, we didn't chew it very properly, and it's now stuck in the esophagus because we just didn't chew the food properly.
Yeah.
And that's actually an emergency. You'll need to come to the hospital, and we'll need to take that food bolus out or push it down or whatever.
But they're not choking? There's just food stuck?
If it's stuck in the chest or stuck below the vocal cords, you're not going to be choking.
It's in your lungs?
It's not. No, it's in the esophagus.
Okay.
So it's gone past past the epiglottis area. So it's gone in the esophagus. It's past the upper esophageal sphincter, or the door in the upper esophagus. But the food bolus is so large, it's actually stretched the esophagus too much, where it can effectually contract to push the food bolus down.
Gotcha.
Because
you got a jam.
Yeah, because the esophagus maximal diameter is 20 centimeters.
20 centimeters.
So that's only 20
millimeters?
20 millimeters.
That's what I was like.
Fuck. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. 20 millimeters.
Babies aren't that big, right?
2 centimeters.
Okay.
Oh boy. So
giving
20.
birth.
Yeah. I was like 8 inches. Wait, no, that doesn't make sense. No, it's 2. Yeah, so 2
maybe
centimeters
times 12.
Maybe like an inch and a quarter, somewhere around there.
Yeah, 2 centimeters is the maximal diameter. So if you're, that's the normal diameter. You can stretch it further because the esophagus, because most of the human body, the muscles are stretchable. But if you start stretching it too much more, then the muscle is it's basically you stretched it too much that the muscle can't effectively contract. So, and we see that once in a while.
Wow.
It's
so
so
at Thanksgiving dinner, take a little more time chewing.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Especially if you're going to eat all of it.
So to rephrase, it wasn't that, well, you said eating a whole lot fast, but it's more just, you could still eat a whole lot, just chew.
Oh, yeah. I'm not saying don't eat all that. I'm just saying eat and chew your food before you swallow it, at least.
Yeah.
What about competitive eaters? Is that insanity?
I mean, it's not insanity. I mean, again, at least you don't really have food impactions in those, so they do seem to chew their food properly.
Something, right?
It's actually a quirk of the stomach. The stomach has something called receptive relaxation, where if you actually do this, so while you're eating, your stomach will automatically just stop moving. It's literally like a bag that just will expand and expand and expand with how much ever it can fill.
Okay.
But then stop eating. Let's say you ate like 2 or 3 slices of pizza. Then you just stop eating, but you really want some cake now because you're done.
Cake's
you want
delicious.
some cake. Yeah. You can absolutely eat that right then and there. You won't feel full. You'll be able to eat more. But if you wait like 20 minutes or so, usually by that point your stomach has now sensed that you've stopped eating and it's going to start contracting and try to digest some of that food. Now you won't be anywhere. Now you'll be more full. Now you'll be less willing to eat that piece of cake.
It sends a signal to your brain, hey, I'm digesting now.
Well, it's actually more the fact that you aren't eating is sending the signal to the stomach to start moving.
Okay.
And not just stay as like a bag.
Okay.
I would say that because I've heard this saying or some statement, eat and then wait 15 minutes. If you're still hungry, wait 15 minutes. If you're still hungry, then eat again. Because the objective they're saying is eat a little so that it's kind of like a dietary thing to try to eat less so that your stomach could send, I guess they told me that sends a signal to your brain to tell you that you're actually full.
Right.
But that's
so actually, you can realize you're full.
Is that kind of?
It's kind of like that. It's just so the way the stomach starts digesting. So actually, the vast majority of digestion doesn't happen in the stomach. The main role of the stomach is to act as a reservoir. And because the stomach has its 2 doors in and of itself. There's the door to the esophagus and stomach, and then there's a door from the stomach to the small intestine or the duodenum, which is the first part. That door diameter is also pretty small. It's only about 1 centimeter in diameter. So what the stomach does is it's supposed to hold the food and send little bits of food at a time, so that it can get maximal absorption of the nutrients from the food as it goes through the duodenum and the rest of the intestines. Again, our bodies are very, very good at absorbing almost all the important nutrients in a meal, and we eat too much.
So say if I didn't want to take your suggestion earlier about chewing a lot before swallowing, is there any... by chance, if I chew less, will my stomach and the small intestines be able to get less calories? Say I want to eat. Okay.
Because what ends up happening is that if you have, let's say, as you said, you didn't chew too much, so you have a big chunk of meat or something that's now sitting in your stomach. That big chunk of meat has to be small enough to get through that pylorus or that door. And if it's not small enough to get through that door, it's going to sit there and be digested more and more and more until it can get through that door.
Okay.
So eventually, so that's why, again, if that opening, this is why liquids will go right through. Most solid meals, it takes about 4 hours to digest a solid meal.
That sounds fast to me.
It sounds fast, but So in the GI tract,
well, not that I disagree with you. It just seems amazing that it can go through all this.
Oh no, not through all of it, just the stomach.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying 4 hours from the stomach to the duodenum.
Okay.
For all of the meal that you've eaten in 4 hours, that's about how long it'll take for it to go from the stomach to the small intestine.
How long from eating the steak to pooping?
That can be anywhere from a day to close to 3 days.
That makes a lot more sense to me.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Please continue. Sorry.
So from the esophagus to the stomach, it's about 10 seconds. It's about how long it takes for you to swallow and have the food go all the way down. From the stomach to the duodenum, it's about 4 hours. From the duodenum to the large intestine is about another 6 hours or so. It can take anywhere from 2 to 6 hours, depending on what it is. And then from the large intestine out, it can take up to like 24 or 48 hours or longer. And that's a lot of it because the colon, the vast majority, the job of the colon, again, is just to act as a reservoir to hold the stool so that your body can reabsorb all the electrolytes and water, because there's roughly 5 liters of secretions in your gut every day, but only about 100 milliliters actually comes out on a daily basis.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, we don't want to waste all our water pooping.
Exactly.
Yeah. This is fascinating.
Do you have any intuition on cold on the body, healing or hurting, drinking warm water for digestion?
Not really. I mean, I hear some people say that warm water helps them digest, and that seems to help some people, but I don't know of any real mechanism of how that would necessarily help some people digest more.
So wouldn't any temperature water become room temperature or body temperature water within a few minutes?
Exactly.
I think I've heard quite a few people say that because the cold water shocks the system, and then it's less able to do the work. But I mean, when you take your temperature,
98.6?
Yeah, 98. When you drink cold water, it's probably going to get to 98 within, I mean,
by the time it stays in the stomach, it's going to be in 98 fairly quickly. So yeah, I mean, I haven't really seen anything that says that that'll improve digestion.
Are these tea drinkers?
Yeah, that's what I get. Like my wife, she's a big tea drinker, and then she keeps on saying it. So I've actually had, I think, 2 podcasts where but they weren't doctors. It was just normal.
Just lining up people to unconvince her.
No, the other way. They keep on agreeing with her. Oh, so you're the first person that's against what she's saying.
I'm not saying that it's wrong. Again, if it makes you feel, if you have a warm feeling in your belly and you feel like your belly is not working more, I mean, go for it. I've never actually told people not to do something just because I don't think it necessarily makes sense, unless I think it's actually going to harm you. So the other thing, I guess the third point of the VIG's points is
wisdom from the VIG.
Wisdom from the VIG is herbal supplements or supplements in general. I recommend people staying away from. I don't like people taking.
Like daily vitamins?
No, vitamins are about the only thing that I would say I'm okay with. Vitamins, like your daily Centrum that has essential vitamins and minerals, fine. But other supplements, like people, you have these weird herbal weight loss supplements or other herbal supplements to cure different things, or
I'm gonna eat ginseng all day.
Right, stuff like that. Now, if you're using it just for dietary, like you have a ginseng tea because you like that tea, whatever, I don't care, that's fine. Yeah. But if you're trying to take it to cure a certain ailment, I don't think it works that way. And then unfortunately you're using such high concentrated doses of something that you don't necessarily know what it will do to you. And then on top of that, if you're using sort of from the supplement
you've
industry,
left the moderation zone.
Yes.
Okay.
And then on top of that, if you absolutely that. And then on top of that, if you go to like buy supplements from GNC or something like that, they're not regulated by the FDA. So literally someone that says this supplement is a weight loss supplement, they could just be giving you a sugar pill. Mm-hmm. And because there's not really anybody that is assessing the quality of the supplement that they're giving you, there could be sugar, or there could be anything else. In fact, acute liver failure, which is where your liver has decided it's no longer going to work. The most common cause is actually Tylonel use, but behind that, there's actually other supplements. And when you see like a 21-year-old man or woman with liver failure, it's because sometimes it is because they took some supplement that they were using to try to lose weight or try to not be depressed or something else like that. And it's just one of those things where I'm like, just stay away from it.
So supplements are unregulated.
Yes.
Nobody's watching them.
I mean, they say now that there's like this independent review board that certifies that stuff. But I mean, honestly, there's no incentive for them to regulate it properly. Right. Whereas the FDA, there's a clear reason for them to do that.
Is there how much Tylenol would you have to take to fuck up your liver?
So the exact number is a moving target. We usually think 10 grams. But how
many pills is it?
So it's
some of the big ones are 250.
So the extra strength is 500 milligrams, and the regular strength is 325. Usually people take either 2 extra strength every 6 hours or 2 regular strength every 4 to 6 hours or something like that. Usually we tell people no more than 4 grams a day.
Or 500 milligram. If I take 2 of those, is that a gram?
1 gram.
Okay. Sorry, I'm not good with metric.
Yeah, that's fine. No, but that's all it is that we tell you don't take more than 4 grams a day. And that's pills. If you don't have liver disease.
So don't take more than 8 of the super Tylenols.
Yeah, the super ones. I want to say that the biggest one I saw, I think, was 250. So even the 350 and the 500, that's pretty massive.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure at least maybe there's 252, but I know there's 325 and 500. Those are the doses that I've usually commonly seen them used. But most people don't intentionally overdose on Tylenol. It ends up being accidental overdoses of Tylenol is the one that.
Okay, I thought they were Pez or what?
Well, yeah, or they were just in pain and they didn't realize that taking Tylenol every 2 hours is not a good idea.
So trying to get rid of this heroin abscess.
Is it by any chance like they're so commonly taking like 2 or 4 pills at a time, so they get to the point where they're popping.
They're just not, and they're just not thinking about it. Like they'll alternate ibuprofen with Tylenol, and they'll forget that they're supposed to take ibuprofen this time. They just took Tylenol. But even 4 grams in a daily, we don't like. I'm not saying that. Okay, so now you can have 4 grams every day for the next 4 days. That still puts you at somewhat risk too. So, so we try to say this. Just Tylenol is a very benign and great medication. In fact, for most people, I would absolutely say Tylenol is wonderful. Has fewer side effects than almost any other medicines, unless you're taking really ridiculously high doses.
So should leave the moderation zone.
Yeah. Always. That's the common theme is everything in moderation and you'll be fine. Other than supplements, there's no point in taking supplements.
Bad for your body.
Have you guys ever watched Last Week Tonight by John Oliver?
Yes.
I love that show. I mean, he does a fairly good job in most topics. I mean, he does, of course, he has his own biases to it. Yeah. But one of his first episodes was on the supplement industry, and it was a great episode. I think he encapsulates everything about it. And and this is in the 90s, they actually had Mel Gibson do a commercial about how supplements are not really that bad, because what the supplement industry wants to say is they want to be able to say whatever they want to say. But they don't want any regulation, because the moment someone says, "Oh, this can actually cause harm," well, fuck.
Yeah.
All right. I guess now I got to pay more attention to what I'm doing.
Right.
So, yeah, there's tons of those.
My mom is funny because she believes in modern medicine, but she is not good with the details. So, oh, you don't feel well? You should have a Tylenol. Like, well, I don't know if that's going to help with
what's wrong with me.
Yeah, my specific thing. It was probably because I drank too much last night.
I do. When I do get a hangover, I do take some Advil or Aleve, and that usually helps a little bit. That and going for a run.
What about charcoal pills? Does that make any sense?
So what charcoal, what we're trying to do is we're trying to absorb, like it's supposed to absorb whatever thing that you've, so like, if you get poisoned, let's say you took a poison, we do actually give charcoal.
Intoxicated?
Yeah, I guess you could do it for that too, because what the charcoal does, it will absorb all the alcohol so it doesn't get absorbed by your body. And it does that with other poisons too. So
what other poisons, what poisons would...
Any sort of orally taken poisons that...
snake venom.
Yeah, stuff like that. If not that's not snake venom, because it's not like, usually snake venom is gone through through a bite, but more I don't know, if you
radiator fluid, coolant fluid,
something like that.
Okay.
Yes. If you get, or like even Tylonel, if you can get it, if someone had accidentally ingested like 20. I mean, there's no real accidentally ingestion, but
too many.
But someone has tried to commit suicide with a lot of Tylenol, and then they thought better about it, and they decided to come to the hospital within like an hour. You can probably give them some activated charcoal, and it can help with not allowing all of that to absorb.
Okay.
So that's sort of the thing that we use the charcoal for. By the time you have a hangover, charcoal's not going to do anything.
What if I have one before I go out to the bar? Or is that
but then you won't get drunk.
Yeah,
so
am I just paying for drinks then and not getting that? Okay.
So for me would be Pepcid and charcoal.
Yeah, exactly. So at that point, that's just now you're just wasting money.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a social drinker, so it's probably a waste anyway.
That's me too.
Would in that case, alcohol if you take the charcoal beforehand, would you actually get less?
Probably.
Drunk?
I would think so, because again, we're using it's absorptive mechanisms, I think, is what it does, and you just poop it out.
Okay.
So I mean, I guess if it's still in the stomach while you drink, then it won't absorb as quickly. So that would be my assumption.
Big, I got to run this by you. I want to lose weight, right? I feel like I'm heavier than I want to be. I eat because I'm hungry. If I didn't feel hungry, I wouldn't eat, right?
Sometimes.
I mean, I eat when I have the sensation in my stomach that says I want.
Yes, right? the sensation that says you want, but is it sometimes there's a sensation that says I just want to eat, and there's sometimes a sensation that says I want chicken nuggets, nothing else. I want chicken nuggets right now. So
it's usually buffalo wings, but
right, or buffalo wings in your case. So if it's buffalo wings, is it really that you're hungry, or is it just that you want? I mean, like, had you just eaten like 2 hours ago, and you're like, I really want buffalo wings now?
But that's more the flavor on your tongue. Right. Yeah. Well, so a lot of times I'm gonna eat like deli meat rolled into a tortilla.
Okay.
Just to satiate the hunger sensation.
Mm-hmm.
If I could get rid of that, I would eat less.
Okay.
So, have you ever seen those little pills that you throw in the bathtub and they blow up into a foam dinosaur?
Mm-hmm.
Can I eat something inert that will fill up my stomach, then I won't feel hungry, and then I just poop it out?
So I
would pay money for that.
I don't think there's any pill that actually will work that way, in the sense that it won't just blow up and stay in your stomach for a set amount of time and then will be harmlessly passed through your bowels. But that concept,
dinosaur sponges.
But that concept, actually, dinosaur sponges, there is a concept for that, and in fact, there's these balloons you can blow up and just kind of load them into someone's stomach, like several of these balloons too, because as I said, the stomach's main role is to act as a reservoir. So if you fill it with other stuff that's not digestible, that's not going to pass through the door between the stomach and the duodenum, then yes, you can theoretically, now that person will eat less.
As long as it's not obstructing.
As long as they're not obstructing, yeah.
Okay.
And these balloons are freely movable and things like that, so it's not like things will definitely get stuck.
Yeah.
But that's a theoretical concern of that. I mean, that's actually the main reason why bariatric surgery works. So
is that where you clip off part of the stomach and make it smaller?
Yes. So bariatric surgery, there's two major there's something called a lap band, where you're just trying to compress the stomach with an exterior band. But the two most common procedures is there's something called a gastric sleeve, where what they do is you think of the stomach as that kidney bean shaped thing, and then what they do is they just cut
like a bagpipe.
Yeah, they just cut the outside part of it, so now it's just a much smaller version of the same thing.
Where they cut off and sew up the
yeah. So that's exactly what they do, and that works. People do lose a lot of weight off that. The problem is anything, the human body is very good at accommodating a lot of different things. So people who have gastric sleeves, or even what they call a gastric bypass, where they do a huge, it's a much more complex surgery, which we don't need to really get into too deeply.
Don't do that voluntarily.
I don't think it should be done, because again, it's a major surgery. Yeah. And if you don't change your lifestyle, you're going to gain that weight back, unfortunately.
Will your stomach just expand back to?
No, it's not even that it won't. And this I can't explain as easily, because again, the stomach can expand once you've cut it down. Once you've cut it, you've cut it. It's not going to get back to that main size.
Yeah.
But people still eat poorly, or they eat stupid food, or high calorically high food, or something.
Cake.
I don't know. Yeah, or a lot of cake, and they're like, oh, I lost 100 pounds, so I can eat more bad shit now, and they will gain like 60 pounds back. And then if you think about it, you just cut part of your stomach off to lose weight, and you gained it back.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. I used to work in a corporate setting. It was a medical devices company.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was this company potluck one day, right? And I'm sitting there fucking miserable in my cubicle. Lunch, I'm like, I'd rather be outside, but I'm here. Hey, how's it going? How you doing? Right? Just talking to people. And then a lady from another department sits down. I work with her, I send her emails and shit. And she's got 2 plates. And she goes, oh, yeah. I had the lap band surgery, so my stomach's smaller. I'm going to eat this one now. Then I'm going to take this one back to my cubicle so I can eat it later.
Oh, jeez.
And I'm like, lady, you missed the whole point of the thing. You're strategizing how to eat more around your surgery that was designed to help you lose weight. So it's just...
Yeah, it's people don't want the responsibility on themselves. That's so now that I've had the surgery, I'll automatically lose weight, so I can do whatever I want. Yeah. And it's like, no, that's not how it works.
Okay. I need a dinosaur sponge pill that...
If you can create one of those, you would make a lot of money.
It would just have to be inert, right? And fill the stomach?
Yeah, it's just... And that's what I'm saying. These balloons do that, but so the dinosaur pill, what you're saying is that it would be inert, it would fill the stomach, and then it would, at some point, deflate and pass through your stomach into the duodenum and then go out the regular way.
Well, then I could sell you those for the rest of your life, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can do that, I've not heard there. Actually, now we do have pills that are actually appetite suppressants.
Oh.
And we do have pills that do work on that whole thing. Endocrinologists are actually very knowledgeable about this in particular.
Okay. Mm. I mean, they probably wouldn't give it to me because I'm not that overweight, right?
No, there's a new one. It's called Ozempic that anybody can take.
Ozempic.
I'm
going to demand this from my doctor.
Really? You can. I think at least 1 or 2 of the endocrine fellows that I've worked with said, you lose weight. The only problem is again, you have to take that for the rest of your life. Because it works on it suppresses your appetite. So if you stop taking it, your appetite is not really as suppressed, and therefore, I think that's called Ozempic.
Okay. I was thinking when you said that you have to take it for the rest of your life. It's kind of, we asked a physician, what was he? But you asked
Physicist.
No, a physician. I think you asked about the testosterone shots, and he was saying the problem with that, if you have low testosterone, you're trying to take testosterone shots to make up for your lost testosterone. The problem is you're telling the body to not produce it. Right. Yeah, exactly. So I thought you were saying that pill, the food, you're telling your stomach not to be hungry. Yeah. I thought you were saying you grow some type of dependency on it.
Oh, no. It's not dependency. It's just more, it'll stop suppressing your appetite.
Gotcha.
That's all. Yeah, the testosterone, it is a funny thing. If you want to shrink your balls, take testosterone. That's because that's what it would do.
Well, no, I think where I'm at is I had my testosterone tested and I'm in the low part of the normal range.
It doesn't do anything.
Yeah, but why can't I be in the high part of the normal range?
I mean, everybody's physiology is a little bit different. The only thing, the thing is low testosterone, freaking men's health, man. Low testosterone.
I want to lift more at the gym.
This is what I'm saying, is low testosterone.
And I want a deeper voice.
People, like, literally, people will say, oh, I'm on low, that's why I can't have an erection. It's like, that's not true, dude. You're having an erection. Do you wake up in the morning with an erection once in a while? And if they say yes, it's like, it's not your low testosterone. Your body is working just fine. You just...
just watching too much porn.
Very funny, very funny story. I thought I had this problem. I had this problem, so I was like, okay, I got to test for everything. I tested for thyroid issues, diabetes.
Wait, are you talking about low testosterone?
No, I thought I had erectile dysfunction at one point. This was like 6 years ago.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I got to figure out what's going on. So I tested for thyroid. I tested for diabetes. I asked my doctor to test for testosterone and all of these different things. And because I was like, I was dating this girl and I just can't see, I don't know what's going on.
Turns out you hate her.
And she's like, well, maybe you're just not attracted to her. Yeah. I'm like, that can't be right. We were so... And then it was a short-term thing. It was while I was in LA, and then I came back to Ohio and I started dating another girl and I had none of those issues. So it really, I was like, holy shit, I really just wasn't physically attracted to this woman. That is terrible. This is terrible. What the hell is wrong with me? She's a super hype. I mean, I'm really attracted to like independent, like really independent, high-powered women. Like she was a district attorney. And that whole kid, I was like, damn, that's really hot. And wow, I don't know what happened. But yes, so low testosterone. Your
mind was stimulated by her success and achievement.
Exactly.
Wow.
But the problem is low testosterone has been a lot of older men, and now there's these testosterone clinics where you can make oodles of money because it's one of those things where men are willing to just pay out of pocket to get.
Yeah, I have to stop myself from going. I haven't gone yet.
Please don't. It's just not worth it. I mean,
there's a billboard up that says it's great.
Yeah, I know, but there's a billboard up that says Trump is great.
But you also have...
I bet he has 12 erections.
Was it that one TED Talk that you watched where the testosterone...
that was the doctor, yeah.
Yeah, where he said his life got better because with his low testosterone, he just wasn't motivated to do things in life.
So when you actually have physiologically low testosterone, that's a different story. In that case, there's a clear indication for taking testosterone. But what we're saying is low normal testosterone. And second of all, there's bound testosterone, there's free testosterone. Free testosterone is the actual active hormone, meaning that's the one that can actually pass through the cells and actually do its job. So which one was low? Do you know if it was just like total testosterone was low, or was
I'm not a
low
doctor.
normal? And this is where you gotta look. And this is why it's important to just find those things out, because yes, if you do have low testosterone, like actually low, physiologically low testosterone, it is associated with a lot of problems. But if it's not physiologically low, then I think trying to treat it is you're just treating something that's not really a problem.
Does it affect one's energetic?
It does.
Okay.
Low testosterone will affect energy. It'll make
so I feel like I'm also low energy of normal people.
Yeah, definitely. Compared to Emmett, to me, like when I see that he's less willing to do certain projects or just certain anything, I feel like I'm more willing to, start a podcast or do these things where I feel like Emmett would be less motivated to do.
I'm very strategic.
I think there's that's not necessarily abnormal, because me and a friend of mine actually we teased the idea of doing a podcast ourselves because we were doing the liver disease specialty, and we wanted to develop a liver disease specific podcast. And we had all these cool ideas, but then when the idea
geeking out on livers.
Yeah, I mean, we're like, all right, this is cool. Because the general medical podcasts are so dry, they're so boring. It's like, nobody wants to listen to these things. So we're like trying to figure out like how can we do something that's interesting and that we can actually get things going. But so we had all these cool ideas, but then when it came to procurement of supplies, of actually getting started, of sitting down and doing this, we kept talking about it, but we never got it done.
Yeah.
And so if you say low energy in that you can't seem to go work out like you normally do, that's one thing. But low energy in that you're not willing to spend the time and energy to do something that you wouldn't otherwise do. Like this is actually more of a commitment than, that's normal.
I think Liem has a skewed view of my motivations in life. I could tell you who goes to the gym more. I spent a lot more time in the gym.
So there you go. So that I would say is that, that's just a motivational thing, unfortunately, rather than a little testosterone thing.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
If I can get to the gym, that means
if you get to the gym regular, I once had a patient. Oh my gosh, this is hilarious. So she's a lady with a form of liver disease that generally causes fatigue. And when I say fatigue, I mean like these people like getting up and doing some household chores and they'll sleep the rest of the day. This is really bad. And this lady, she had the disease, so we were treating her, and her liver numbers look good. And we're like, okay, so how's it? And she's like, oh yeah, my fatigue, my fatigue has gotten so much better. I'm like, great. Like what were you doing? Oh, I went to hike Mount Rainier the other day, and I did that. When I did that a year ago, I could barely do it, but now I'm fine. And I'm like, what the fuck? You hiked Mount Rainier, and you're saying you were fatigued at that time? Like, come on, lady. Yes. Come on, what's wrong with you? So, everyone's got their own different level of these things.
You're not supposed to feel like $1 million when you climb a mountain?
No. But apparently this woman did now that her disease was under control. I mean, oh my gosh. The gamut of like people's symptoms, it doesn't make any sense. Sometimes it's just like... I
feel like for me, I wake up with a certain amount of gas in the tank, and I got to be careful about how I use it.
That's reasonable.
Okay.
I think everyone's got that. Like my mentor in liver disease, actually, I'm going to his talk later today. He has the energy of 10 men. He is the head of transplant at UCLA. He is he has 4 kids, 3 daughters and 1 son. When I was doing research with him back in like 2013. He was taking care of all their allowances. He would find time to go on family vacations with them. He would run 3-4 miles a day every day, or swim. He also does talks for a living. I mean, he's actually probably one of the best speakers I've ever met. And he will do these talks across the country and then come back and go back to work in his clinic and still do all of these things. I mean, like he's here now, and he probably went for a run before he even is going to his talk. He's insane. I've never met anybody with that kind of energy.
Yeah, so I see people like that look like they wake up early and are just 100 miles an hour all day until they go to sleep. Yeah,
but that is not necessarily normal. That's some people just or that's their normal, but that's not everybody's normal. That's definitely not my normal. If I can if I can be productive for me means I did my laundry today.
Yeah,
that's amazing. For me. Now tomorrow's job is to actually fold the laundry.
Jumping to my personal story, I'm gonna ask, like, does the stomach just kind of slow down, or your body slow down through age, and like stomach aches and whatnot happen more? So back when I was younger, I felt like my stomach was iron, like I had no problems. As I got into my probably 20s, maybe once every couple years.
Your 20s, that's still young.
Like you just eat something and you would either diarrhea or...
When you're 18, you could eat like 2 pizzas and just go play basketball.
So then in my early 30s, I felt like it was like maybe once every few months. And then nowadays, it's almost once every few weeks. I'll eat something and it just doesn't sit well. Is that a normal thing, or am I...
No, that's partly normal now. It doesn't happen that way to everybody. I will say that for me too. I mean, I never got heartburn before, but now if I eat something really spicy, I will absolutely get heartburn as opposed to before. In fact, I've noticed if I eat like really shitty, absolutely I had if I just had pizza on sriracha sauce and some all this other bullshit, it really does affect me much more than it did when I was a lot younger. I don't know if I would say that means digestion is slowing down, or if it's just that your body is more prone to make mistakes in the actual movements. So as I said, acid reflux is literally just the door is open a little bit longer than it should be, or actually it's just much more, it's swiveling. So it'll close most of the time, but then it'll open up just a little bit and then close and open. It's transient relaxation of the lower esophageal sphincter. So transient meaning it just kind of randomly happens, and there is evidence to show that it does happen more as we age. So.
Okay, so just some people have it way easier than other people.
Unfortunately,
okay.
I mean, there are some people that never have these symptoms ever.
Yeah, I'm fearing that. I mean, if it's gone down to like
You're
weeks,
looking at the trend.
if it's gone down to weeks now, like when I turn 50 or 60, holy shit!
Just realize that we have great medication for this, and as long as you're willing to take it, then you probably won't have much trouble with that. Like again, Prilosec is a great. I mean, I would definitely, if you have heartburn, just take it, and once a day, half an hour before breakfast. That's all we recommend.
Okay, cool. That's awesome.
But don't miss doses. Prilosec, so Pepcid, you can take that, and if you miss a dose here and there, whatever. But Protonics, or these proton pump inhibitors, if you miss a dose, because this is active, what this medication does is it's actually at the level of the acid. It is blocking the release of acid, and your stomach will sense that. And so especially when it's trying to digest, it will try to overcome that by producing hormones to produce more acid. And when this proton pump inhibitor is there, it's irreversibly bound to the acid pump, so it can't. But then if you sporadically take it, then your body's going to actually overcome that, and now you're going to have rebound acid reflux.
Wow.
So if you're going to take that medication, you should take it every day.
Awesome information.
Would you say you have heartburn? Or are you talking about?
No, actually not heartburn. Oh, I would say it's just it.
You get the shits sometimes?
It's like I would say the shits, but it doesn't sit well. It's like the stomach is like
Feel more bloated or something.
Bubble guts?
Or is it indigestion? Like you just feel like a discomfort in your belly that's just there almost after eating, lasts for a little while, and then kind of goes away.
Yeah, but the discomfort's enough. It's kind of like it's pretty lame to sit on the toilet and you're like, oh gosh, this is terrible. Like, so I would say, like on a scale of pain of 1 to 10, it's probably like a 3 or 4.
And how often does that occur?
Once a month, once every other month.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it's not occurring often enough that we can point to a specific problem with that. It might actually be just whatever it is that you ate might be causing you trouble.
We've been like my wife cooks at home a lot, and then we notice it happens way more often if we go out to eat.
So it's maybe something in the food is not agreeing with your stomach in particular.
Yeah.
And there are ways to figure that out, but again, like this is happening so rarely that I would not even stress about it that much. If it happens, because it kind of sounds like something that we call irritable bowel syndrome, which is a fairly common sort of thing, but I wouldn't even bring it up unless it's happening like once a week, every week, associated with like a change in bowel habits and stuff like that. So there's a whole criteria for that, which right now I don't think you have to worry about.
Gotcha.
You can keep a food diary when it happens and then see if it's boba.
If
or
it gets,
something.
if it starts to occur every week, then it probably be time to do the food diary and start tracking that.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah, I'm not there yet. Like once every 2 months, and it seems random. I mean, I might go 4 months without it, and then
right. So that makes it sound like it's specific to whatever it is that you ate. Something in the food is not agreeing with you or something like that.
Gotcha.
Have you ever had a patient that was attracted to you and put the moves on you because you're Dr. Vig?
No, thank
Really?
the Lord. That
you
would be
wouldn't
so. No, you can't do that. That's a huge no.
Oh, what if she's hot?
It's still a huge no.
Well, I mean,
Luckily for me,
she's like, hey, I might happen to be at Applebee's later. And if we run into each other there, then it's not a doctor-patient thing, right?
No, well, the problem is that it's just so iffy. There's just no way to to get out of that. There's like a rule that if someone's been your patient, I don't know if this is actually a real legal rule, but apparently you have to wait like 2 years or something before you can
like a cooling off period.
Yeah, there's a whole power dynamic that apparently is there. I guess the reason why I generally don't see patients that are that young. I'm not in psychiatry, so I don't see these like 20-year-olds. Usually my patients are in the age ranges of 40 to 99.
Okay.
So in about 15 or 20 years, your opinion may change.
Maybe.
I don't think firefighters have a 2-year rule.
That's true. I don't know. But saving someone's life, I don't know, some form of Stockholm syndrome there or something. I don't know.
Yeah, studly firefighter. It's a very masculine job.
Yeah. Are there women firefighters?
Yeah, I think they just can't carry bodies up and down ladders as easily.
Mm-hmm. So like, but like, you know, I mean, when you're fighting fires in the forest, right? Because most firefighters, especially in like California, I'm guessing they're being used more to fight these.
No, I think it's a different. It's a different gang.
That's a different gang.
Yeah, you like these smoke jumpers, and these are guys that, you know what it is guys that want to be firefighters and aren't yet, because it's like so many people want to be firefighters. It's competitive. You got to wait a long time, even if you do everything right. So there's guys that aspire to be firefighters, and they're like, while I'm waiting, I'll go fight this forest fire, and then that'll give me some street cred. As far as I understand.
Yeah, I don't know anything about firefighters at all.
But I think once you're in the neighborhood station, I think you're like making pancakes 4 days a week, and then you get 2 weeks off or something crazy like that.
Just 2 weeks?
Then you go shoot a calendar. I don't know what the fuck. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck they do.
Yeah, sounds like a cool gig once in a while.
Yeah,
but,
I know some guys that have gone through the academy and stuff. Actually, none of them have made it in. Yeah, that's how competitive. And
wow,
one dude got injured in the boot camp or whatever.
Wow,
like he herniated a disc, which washed him out, but fucking sucked because he was that close to becoming a firefighter, and then
he herniated a disc.
Yeah,
and that's just pain. That sucks.
How long was your schooling for becoming a GI doctor?
So
it's an online class.
So med school is 4 years. Residency to do GI, you have to do a 3-year residency, and then in internal medicine. So that's just general medicine stuff. And then after that, it's a 3-year GI fellowship. But prior to the GI is actually the most competitive fellowship in internal medicine. So to do GI, I didn't get in right away. So I did do a 2-year fellowship in liver disease. So after that, I'm doing the GI. So far, this is my last year. So this will be year number 8 after med school. But if you include med school and college, then that's now another. I was
going to say, don't you have to do a lot of
14 years
to get to med school?
Yeah. 4 years of college, 4 years of med school, 3 years of residency, 2 years of liver disease, and then 3 years of a GI fellowship, and then I'm done.
Do you have a better than average memory?
Probably.
Okay. Seems like it.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of biology is memorization.
Right.
It's memorizing different mechanisms of different things. So
just remembering how stuff works. It's such a complicated amalgam of things.
Yeah, and you know what I say about, I mean, it's just, I guess it's the way I think about things. Like for me personally, like understanding the physiology, the bottom stuff, like how the cell fits into this particular organ, makes a lot more sense, and I can usually extrapolate that up to sort of the bigger stuff and how they can cause disease and things like that. So that stuff I remember a lot better than say like irritable bowel syndrome. I was telling you about that. That's just remember this criteria. That's how you diagnose irritable bowel, and these are the drugs that you can use for it. I mean, that's just a lot harder for me to remember because it's not like the physiological basis for irritable bowel isn't well understood just yet.
Yeah,
we have some ideas of different things, of different reasons for why it occurs, but it's not 100%. So trying to remember that is much harder than say trying to remember why the pancreas gets inflamed or why the stomach does what it does.
I think you said earlier in response to something, I don't understand a mechanism for how that would work. And I think that ties into having that cellular understanding. Like when somebody comes in and says, I'm eating a bottle of St. John's wort every day. And then you go, well, there's no logical path for how that would affect the things that you're thinking it affects.
Exactly. And that's why that's another reason why we don't like supplements, is because if it was a supplement that actually did what it said it did, we would use it as a drug, because now you're not calling it, because someone would have done a trial to say that this works in this particular way, and therefore we use it for this purpose.
Yeah.
Even if we don't understand the underlying mechanism of why it does what it does, we still use it for, we would still actually, someone would package it as a drug rather than as a supplement.
Because we tested it on 100,000 people.
Exactly.
And it's pretty reliably.
Exactly. That's
okay.
And that's the difference between, I mean, that's what we call evidence-based medicine, right? It's if you studied it and it's proven to be what you've said it is, then that's it.
Is the what's the one that I take for my ankle and knees? The conjoint. What's What's your
How
thought?
does that work?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's a musculoskeletal thing. I'm gonna leave that to your orthopedic.
Okay.
You're below the belt.
Yeah, I'm
Okay, that's
not 100% sure about how that
For
works.
the residency, for somebody, I have no idea. So you,
He's in the fellowship now.
well, tell me about the residency and then the fellowship, and then. I guess for me, like I know nothing. Like, are you going to school every day? Or are you in a hospital helping people, or what?
So med school is when you're going to school. You do so the first 2 years of med school is just learning the theory of medicine. So you basically get thrown. I did my major in Davis, UC Davis, where I went to college, was molecular and cellular biology. They covered my entire major in med school in about 4 hours. So they throw at you so much information that you just need to memorize and remember. There's biochemistry, anatomy, physiology, microbiology, pharmacology, and all of these different things. And you got to take tests to try to just understand some of the underlying theory of how the human body works.
Like, what does a mitochondria do?
Right.
Okay.
And what are the different processes that are done in the mitochondria? What are the enzymes in the mitochondria that do these things? They try to teach you all of that. I think the way our medical education system works is not necessarily always the best, because you remember all this stuff for the test, but the vast majority of it you're not going to remember in real life, unfortunately, because it's just too much stuff. Maybe people back 50 years ago, when you didn't have anywhere near as much stuff to remember, maybe then it was easier, but now that it's just so subspecialized. Like, even in GI, you can subspecialize in very particular areas. Like I said, liver disease, there's something with just esophageal motility. There's people that specialize in just the pancreas. Like, they have enough patients now that they can just deal with the pancreas and nothing else.
Yeah.
Which, again, we weren't able to do 40, 50 years ago.
People just died more back then, right?
Yeah, people did die more of a lot of different diseases. Although the life expectancy in the U.S. went down recently. It was like 73, and I think it's now 72.
Because of obesity?
I don't remember exactly why. I think NPR actually did an article about that. I was a little bit sad. But yeah, so residency. So in med school, you do those first 2 years of theory. Then the next 2 years, you're doing rotations in these different fields. So you choose internal medicine, emergency medicine, family medicine, where you're in clinic and just dealing with primary care patients. You do that in internal medicine too, but family medicine is a bit more specialized for that. Or OBGYN or pediatrics or different forms of surgery.
So you literally just go work in hospitals and stuff as a doctor, right?
Well, you're a student. So you're not actually, so you have no liability, nor is any of your documentation, while it could be in the chart, it's not nearly as important.
Gotcha.
So you are not being you're a baby at this point. Med students are just babies. They have no real role other than to learn.
Okay.
Because they have to go through all these different specialties. Once you finish med school, then you apply for residency. And residency is where you choose one of those fields that you just rotated in and decide which one you'd like to do. I initially wanted to do ER medicine, and it was just more... It just didn't work out, so I ended up doing internal medicine.
Too many motorcycle accidents.
Yeah, I mean, ER is tough. So I did internal medicine, and in internal medicine, you just kind of get internal medicine is adult medicine, so 18 and up.
Okay.
And you do all of the different fields in adult medicine. You deal with people just in general, like with various complaints, and then you rotate through some of those subspecialties: cardiology, kidney problems, pulmonary issues. GI issues and all those things. And if any one of those fields attract you, then after you finish residency, once you become board eligible, meaning you can sit for the internal medicine board certification, then you can apply for the GI fellowship or cardiology fellowship or whatever, and do that. And then, so now you're specialized now you finish the internal medicine and you do the subspecialty in that, and then you're done for most people.
You just described Grey's Anatomy, the TV show that's been running for... What's that?
I hate that show.
Why? They're all sleeping around with each other?
That's, I did not realize the hospital, well, actually the hospital is a big high school, but with a lot less sex going around.
No sex and no weed.
I forgot who told me. Someone told me, I think it was a friend that was, man, I don't even remember. I think it was a friend that was a nurse at a hospital, and then they were saying that the head doctor was getting to sleep with all the nurses. All the female nurses were all Google Gaga for this doctor. And my reaction is like, man, that must be nice. But So you're
it's not that there's always going to be some amount of drama, and there's always going to be one or two people that are sleeping around with all the different nurses or other doctors or what have you, the therapists or the techs or the whatever. But that's not going to be the vast majority of people, and nor are they going to be sleeping around in the random. They're not going to be going to the closet over there and then having sex and then coming out normally and then going into another closet and having sex.
Wait, there's not a room with bunk beds in it?
There are rooms with bunk beds, but dude, everybody uses that room. Do you really? I mean, like, if I would be really mad if someone was having sex in that room and I'd have to sleep in that room afterwards. Like, that's gross. At least change the fucking sheets. If you change the sheets, then I'll give you a pass. But how am I supposed to know if you change the sheets after that? They need a black light in there then, so that everybody's like, all right, this bed has been used, and I will take the other bed. So because of that, people aren't usually. I mean, you'll still have people that sleep in the common room. It still happens, I'm sure. But
so if I could open a high-priced motel next to a hospital,
I mean,
be in good shape.
When I did, I did practice as what they call a hospitalist, meaning. I just did practice general medicine in the hospital. So if anybody was admitted to the hospital, I would be the primary doctor that's taking care of everything in that case. And I was doing that as a traveler. So I would go out, have the hotel right next to the hospital, and so you could bang
all the nurses you wanted.
yes, I could take them back to my hotel room
on those dirty sheets.
Exactly. But someone cleans them, so it's all right.
You get fresh ones.
This would be probably a silly question. I'm going off topic. If you were at a bar and you met an infectious disease doctor, what conversations do you think you would ask that person? Or
so
aren't you wearing your mask?
My train of thoughts, like when two doctors meet, like if I was a software engineer, I met another software engineer, of course there'd be nerdy talk, but I'm just curious.
So, I mean, we'll definitely talk shop. Usually what ends up happening is we always talk about a lot of stupid, funny cases that we have. That tends to always be the one that breaks the ice, is we'll have the stupid cases. Usually if I was going to ask an ID physician a specific ID question, I'd be like, what are the like sort of oddball infections that you see more commonly in this particular area? That would probably be the one and only one, because different parts of the country have different infections that are more common.
Because we don't have mosquitoes here.
Yeah, you don't have mosquitoes here. We don't have ticks here. So Lyme disease is something that can happen. If you ever hear someone say they have chronic Lyme disease, I don't think that's a thing. So
chronic Lyme disease.
Yeah,
they just keep hanging out by the deers and they get more.
No. they say what they say is that the bacteria that cause Lyme disease, even though you've killed it, it has caused some form of some chronic autoimmune condition or some bullshit. That's actually bullshit. It's not true. There is no chronic Lyme disease.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
But there's some people that believe in that.
Gotcha.
Just like ivermectin is the best drug for COVID. So you have a lot of crazies out there.
I think that's a general condition that we've got too many people on Earth. Like there's what, 350 million people in the U.S.?
Yeah.
Right? So how can you ever have not some fraction of crackpots or stupid people or, people that are misled or people that...
Always.
Always. It's impossible for everybody to be...
Always. Yeah. No, I was thinking about one of the questions you had is like, what is one of the biggest problems that you see?
But you can't answer it yet. We're not there yet. Later. Yeah, go ahead, answer it if you want.
It's funny. The reason
stupid people.
Right? Yeah, no. We should not. There's literally people that think we shouldn't allow them to reproduce. I'm not one of those, but the thing I mean, everyone says now, like, the thing that's always all over the news is misinformation. But I don't necessarily think it's misinformation, because as you said, propaganda and misleading people has been a thing since the evolution of mankind. Yeah. We've always done that. So we're always going to do that in the future. So just because it's gotten to a point where you can reach Joe Schmo in the middle of nowhere, which you couldn't do before, doesn't change the fact that this is a principle that's been done since the start of
the same
time.
Activity.
Yeah, it's the same activity. Propaganda is propaganda, however you want to play it. So I think one of my the thing I was thinking about this is I think pride is the main issue, because if you can convincing someone that they're wrong usually involves people's ego. And if you have people's ego involved, then people are much less willing to admit they're wrong. And I never understood that. Because one of the easiest things to do is I've just realized that, like, it's easy to just apologize for making a mistake. Be like, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know that was happening, and then move on from there. Because people are much more willing to be like, all right, fine, and do whatever. Because it's like, like for most recently, they've been saying recently, like, our President Biden's approval ratings have been going like crazy because of his execution of the withdrawal from Afghanistan, of the COVID and all this stuff. And it's like, one of the things that I remember them talking about is like, it's because he just can't say sorry for making a mistake. And I'm like, why? Why is it so hard to say sorry that you made a mistake? All right. Yeah. I mean, because you hear Biden's interviews about his whole withdrawal from Afghanistan, and it was always just about, we're ending a 20-year war that was just sucking up resources and was not going anywhere. And that's all true. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I can say, look, I honestly did not expect them to fold so fast. And so we did not plan or prepare for this kind of an evacuation. Yeah. And that's our bad. We perhaps, I mean, hindsight being 2020, it would have been better if we prepared a little bit differently, but we didn't because we did not expect this to happen. And then move on from there. Like, then what are people going to say? They're like, well, you're an idiot. Well, all right, you've accepted your mistake.
So in the propaganda game, right, that's probably the highest stakes position for propaganda. Mm-hmm. So intelligent people will accept that apology, but his enemies, the Republicans, will skewer him every which way, right?
And he's getting skewered every which way now.
Yeah. So,
I mean, I just think, and it's not just Biden. It's nobody's willing. No world leader is really willing to say, "Oh, I made a mistake. I'm sorry. Let's move on from here." Because as you said, people will have a field day on that. But it goes down to even the smallest individual now. Like, you can't convince anybody that they're wrong. And I know I've gotten into heated. Me and my brother, we love to argue all the time, actually. Yeah. And we get into heated arguments all the time. And one of the reasons why we still argue is because usually we can admit when someone is wrong, or just say agree to disagree. But I think the problem here is now agree to disagree has become a thing where it's like, ivermectin sucks. You say, well, ivermectin is good. Let's just agree to disagree on that. It's like that. Yeah. God damn it! That's not the way this works. That's not a virus. It's not a thing.
Well, no, I would hold to, yes, there are facts, right? However hard they might be to find, in the end, there are facts,
right?
Somewhere, like there's facts we can point to that are irrefutable, and then from facts you can have logic and reason,
right?
So if I'm on that foundation, then I won't. I have to draw the line at crazy,
right?
I won't tell that story. I have to draw the line at crazy because the reason the time you go beyond that, I'm not gonna budge.
Right.
I could be wrong, and I'll apologize. Right. I think the hard thing is people who aren't smart can't identify when other people are smarter than them. Like I can see you're smarter than me in a lot of ways. Right. If we went and took a chemistry test right now, Vig's gonna whip my ass. But me versus the general population, I'll probably do pretty well, right? So then there's a relative understanding of chemistry. Yeah. And then you can go down the line to everything, right?
Right.
Like you want to do a test on internal combustion engines. There's guys out there. Yeah, but there's guys out there that are going to be awesome at that.
Right.
But I think I suck at everything else.
Right.
Right. So I think there's an accumulated intelligence and knowledge that one could say, look, are you the smartest guy in the room? Probably not. Like, relax.
Right, right. Bottom line is that.
Yeah, don't walk around thinking you're right and trying to tell everybody else what's going on.
Exactly, and that's, I think, that was my answer to that question. I think pride has seeped into everything, and now no one can admit anything other than their point of view, and that makes misinformation just that much harder to fight more than anything else, I think. And the other thing is just teaching people critical thinking. Like, my God. When did we start? When did OAN or Breitbart become the biased or the unbiased news source for the right? Like that wasn't a thing before, and so on and so forth. So that stuff was crazy to me.
I can't even think of the name of the other one. I was QAnon. That's what.
Oh my gosh,
that was a way too long of a pregnant pause for QAnon. Are we wrapping up?
We could start down the final questions and.
I wanted to ask him 1,000 questions about India.
I thought you wanted to ask something about appendices.
I'm pissed off about appendices.
What about it?
I mean, it seems like people will have randomly rupturing appendixes even later in life, right? You could be a 40-year-old dude and your appendix ruptures.
Yeah.
What is this faulty time bomb of an organ?
Oh, it was a lymph. It was an lymph organ. It is a vestigial organ now. Its purpose is really there's not much for it.
So we don't need them.
No, we don't.
They have no benefit.
Not really, no.
But they're a ticking time bomb of hazard.
They can be a ticking time bomb of hazard, yes.
Okay.
So would I recommend you prophylactically remove your appendix? No.
Okay.
Because, again, that's a surgery. Why would you want someone to cut into you unless they need to?
For the less intelligent viewers, prophylactically means not condom, but before you have any problems. Like
yes, to prevent a problem.
Preemptively.
Yeah, to be proactive. So, like Angelina Jolie got a prophylactic bilateral mastectomy. She got rid of both her boobs because she tested positive for one of those genes that puts her at higher risk for breast cancer.
Oh, yeah. So she voluntarily unboobed.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
And then I'm sure she got some fake boobs for that.
Are her lips real?
I was never enamored with that look. I don't know why a lot of people are with that. And now people, have you guys ever gone to Reddit, Instagram reality?
No, but now I will.
Coolest subreddits I've ever been on, because it's just insane how much people will try to change their appearance to seem what they think is normal. And it's like you'll have a woman that has a waist that's literally this big.
Yeah.
And they think that that's normal. Or they'll have like a complete duck face. And then you look at them in real person, you're like, yo, this is not you. Why?
Is it because they're looking at Instagram more hours a day than the reality around them?
Probably. I mean, that's got to be some of it. And there's some of them that make money. I hate the term influencers too. I think that's a terrible term.
What would be a better term?
I honestly can't think of one.
Okay.
But influencer, it
can't say social media star.
Why not? That at least sounds to me a little bit better than
some
social
more
media
words.
influencer.
Yeah.
I just like content creator because that's just what they're doing.
That makes so much more sense to me, and that I don't mind calling them that. But at the end of the day, well,
you could create content and have zero impact on people.
yeah, but still, you can call yourself a content creator.
Okay. You know? No, I'm saying you're not an influencer until people start following you, right? And start doing what you do.
But I don't know. I mean, it also can harks back to when I was first called a millennial. I'm like, I hate that term.
Yeah.
Don't call me millennial. But now I'm like, all right, whatever. I guess I'm a millennial.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll get used to it in a little bit.
At least you're not a boomer.
Maybe throw a couple of your questions about India real quick, and then we'll see.
Oh, no, I was kidding. We could do another different podcast.
Well, I think if you throw out a couple, then depending on what you know of Vig's past with India, whether culturally or his knowledge, maybe it would.
I don't know. He just said that South Indian movie stars are pretty awesome fighters, and North Indian stars.
Oh, this was so again. This is through the eyes of a 6-year-old child. I was born in India. I grew up there till I was 6, and then I moved to the U.S. And all I remember from India is that my mom would tell me is that I loved watching fighting movies.
Yeah.
And so I would only watch South Indian movies at the time, because most North Indian movies that were very popular were usually the ones that did not have fighting. It was more romance than anything else.
Dancing.
Romance and dancing. And South Indian movies had a lot of romance and dancing, but there's also a lot of fighting. A lot of like one dude taking on 100. And it's over the top violence, which now when I try to watch those same movies, now I just laugh. It cracks me up so much.
Yeah.
Like my dad tried to have me watch this movie, which, I mean, so the guy is, I don't know exactly what's going on, but then the guy gets in this situation where he's a hostage and he's tied to a chair with an oxygen tank below the chair. No idea why there's an oxygen tank below the chair. But so the villain is questioning him and being like, all right, what's going on? Blah, 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 blah. And the guy in the chair is like, I'm totally fine. I will kick your ass at the end of the day. Blah, blah, blah. They're having some weird ass conversation.
The oxygen was to hint at dental torture.
So what ends up happening, and then what he ends up doing is he ends up flipping his chair over while tied down, knocks off the valve off the oxygen tank.
Yeah. That
oxygen tank now flies back into a waiting 3 trucks behind him and blows up all 3 trucks with all the henchmen conveniently in the trucks. Now he's only got to fight the immediate dude, and his chair also conveniently breaks, and he gets out of his the rope that's tying him, and now he's using it as a whip to go hit these people. I'm like, what the fuck?
I think
what is this?
But that's no different than the 80s action movies like Rambo would go wipe out an army.
Interestingly, I actually watched a documentary on Rambo. The original, the very first Rambo was apparently totally different. It was actually more about a dude who grew up in the Vietnam War, who went to the Vietnam War, came back, and was dealing with the ghosts of his Vietnam War past that he couldn't get away from. And then you had these cops that just took him as a delinquent because he was walking around everywhere, and they kind of pushed him over the edge.
That was the movie?
That was the original movie. Then, and actually in the original movie, he was supposed to commit suicide at the end, but that didn't test well with test audiences, so they did not have that happen, and then they were able to make a whole franchise out of that.
Wait, he didn't go kill an army of dudes? And
He did kill an army of dudes, but he killed this army of dudes. The reason he killed those folks was he actually was straight up was like trying to tell them like, look, I mean, because they took him to jail. They kind of really triggered his PTSD from his time in Vietnam, and it led to what happened.
Gotcha.
And again, like he was like, you guys sent me to fight there. You guys aren't willing to like even support me now that I'm back here. He's like, I never left the war, and it was actually much more interesting.
It's
movie.
A deeper story than America gives it credit
for. Way deeper than people give it credit for. I watched like 3 or 4 documentaries on it. It was really cool. It was actually really cool. And Stallone was actually a much cooler actor than I thought after watching that. I was like, damn, this guy did a really good job in this.
He looks like PTSD. Okay, I'll ask you one India question.
Okay.
The future of India. I forget who it was. Some economist or somebody, some venture capitalist or somebody said, the world's not really paying attention to India right now, but India is catching up quick. They've got a nationwide digital payment app. They're spooling up and they're catching up in the modern world, and they're going to be 1 billion people. That's good for the West because China's kind of anti-West, and there's 1 billion of them.
Mm-hmm.
But if we get 1 billion Indians, they're a lot closer aligned with the West than other nations. Is that what is that?
So, my personal opinion on this, and keep in mind, this is just my opinion on this.
Sure, yeah.
There have been talks about that, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that the Indian population, on average, is younger, and they are much more tech savvy, and they are getting more literate. In fact, I just saw there was again public freakout, right at public freakout of a beggar going to a car and asking like, "Hey, can you give me some money? Can you give me some money?" And they're like, "I don't have any cash. I only have a credit card." He's like, "Don't worry." He whips out a credit card reader to get money from these people. They're like, what the fuck?
Just scan here.
What is going on?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, technologically they're going crazy, and I do think that because they're much more democratic in that sense, that it is a good thing for the West as a counterweight to China to be in that same area. And I think it is in the interest of the West to support India, especially if they are going to go toe-to-toe with China. And right now they're having a border dispute with China.
Yeah.
And I think a few soldiers died just recently about that. They're trying to de-escalate that situation. But there's a long way to go for India to get that modern, because while some of the cities in India are just as, I never expected this. So I went to India in 2014, and prior to 2014, I hadn't been to India since 1998. So 16 years. So I had not seen India. And when I went in 98, I really just didn't like my time. I was 13.
Yeah.
There was days where like every day for like an hour after 7 o'clock, the electricity would be turned off, and it's like a fucking 50 degrees Celsius for like 120 degrees outside. And you just hate your life for a bit. And a lot of the modern conveniences just weren't there. But then in 2014, it was totally different. Mobile hotspots were normal. Much more developed roads, subway systems. I got drunk off my ass in Hyderabad, and I never thought that was going to happen.
Hyderabad.
So, funny story, we had just me and my brother were there, and we'd accumulated something like 100,000 rupees each, or so. I don't remember exactly how much money.
And from locals, or how do you accumulate?
From my relatives.
Okay.
Yeah, from locals. We extorted them for medicine. But no, we were just,
that's our family was Prilosec right here for you,
right? So our family, because I have a huge family in India, and they were just giving us cash here left and right, and we're like, let's go out to the Hard Rock in Hyderabad. Yeah. And we didn't, and I was like, it's India, booze isn't going to be that much. We spent all the money that we accumulated, something like almost close to $600-700 in one night.
Well, but the Hard Rock is probably the American expensive place.
It was the American expensive, but I was not expecting to spend. I did not expect it to be that much at all. I mean, like my assumption of India back in 2014 was, I was blown away by the progress in India, and also mangoes. I did not know this, but the taste of mango, there are different species of mangoes, and again, I didn't know that. Just like I didn't know there are different species of rice. But the mango. So when I went in 2014 and I had a mango for the first time in India, I mean, it was like a blast from the past. Like I never had that taste in a long time. It was great. But yeah, so from a technological perspective, they are absolutely, I'm sure they're catching up. I think the Indian Space Agency is actually world renowned for like being a very
getting shit into orbit.
Yeah. So they're getting there. I mean, there's still a lot of places that don't have access to regular power. Or like my dad's cousin, their parents live in this really, really small town that's just like straw thatch and like mud covered walls. And they have a flat screen TV in there somehow. I don't know how that works.
You can watch those movies, man.
Tollywood.
Right? Yeah, it made no sense. Of like, wait, you look from the outside, it's just straw, mud and straw. On the inside, there's a flat screen TV and normal walls. Oh, okay.
Is it an Indian brand television?
I have no idea. I don't even remember. I just remember laughing my ass off that there was a TV in there.
I'd be curious because in the U.S. we don't buy American brand TVs, right? We're buying Samsungs and LGs. And
I'm pretty sure
Sonys and
I'm pretty sure still LG and Sony and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and there's still some culturally, some places that I guess are a little bit more traditional in their culture, in the way they do their culture. I mean,
said.
I just saw another video of a woman that apparently was talking to another man, and her brothers beat the shit out of her for it, just from talking to another man. I mean, like that's ridiculous. And then there's another video of like,
depends on what you were saying, right?
Right, I guess. And then there was
my Instagram.
There was another video of a dude who's it's just a white guy who's fixing a train, and like there's just like 20 other Indian dudes that are just like filming the fact that there's a white guy on the train. I mean,
they were capturing that how to fix the train thing.
or that they were just, and the thing is in India the people just be sitting there staring at you and they'll think that that's okay. They won't say anything. They'll just be staring.
It's a cultural difference.
It's a little awkward that someone is just staring right at me, but they do that normally. I guess at least in these videos they were. Yeah. And of course this isn't going to be like the vast majority of the population. There's small pockets of people that are a little abnormal.
Yeah. So it's a rapidly advancing country with
but it is
huge potential.
I think so. So. Now would I move back to India? Maybe not. I would have, if you had asked me in 98, I would have said, hell no. Yeah. If you asked me in 2014, I would have been 50-50. And even now it's more like 50-50 than I was before.
Would it, cause you'd be coming back now as an American doctor, right?
Yeah. You would actually, get a lot for that alone.
It could be the key to the city.
Yeah. I mean, so actually one of my good friends, from residency, his friend is going to come here just to do a fellowship and then go back to India because they have a hospital, they have everything, and just having that American trained doctor is big enough that they'll get paid a little bit better for that.
Nice.
Sorry
to have delayed the interview.
All right, final questions. First question: what great daily habit or habits do you have?
Great daily habits. Well, right now I have a superpower in that I can wake up as long as I sleep by midnight. No matter what, I will automatically wake up at like 6:30. I don't need an alarm. I don't need anything. I just wake up at 6:30. And it was a skill that I think I started training this when I was in New York because the subway system is, unfortunately, even when you're going 6 miles going on the subway, you're going to take you an hour or something to go from Manhattan to Brooklyn and different places. So I would first start falling asleep and then miss my stop. But then I got so good enough that I could sleep light enough that I could hear the stop, but still be knocked out for the most part.
You're subconsciously tracking.
Yeah. Whereas when I was younger, I could never wake up. Like I would sleep at 10, I would still wake up at like 10 in the morning or something ridiculous. And then it got to, I can wake up to most pages. Like anytime someone is paging me anywhere, I will wake up and I'll listen to it because I had to when I was at work. And now it's evolved.
Wait, paging is like a literal pager or somebody speaking over a loudspeaker?
I literally had a pager.
Okay, gotcha.
Nowadays, the pagers are actually just apps on the phone, but when I was in residency, I had a physical pager.
Okay, excellent.
And now, as I said, I just wake up. I don't think about it. It's not a thing. I just, as long as I sleep by 10 or 11 o'clock, I will be up by 6:37.
And you just start doing shit and getting productive.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not like sleepy and I'm like, oh, I got to go back to sleep. It's just I'll wake up and I can get up and go move around my day.
That's fantastic.
I don't know why. I'm very fortunate that I can do that.
Like for Me working in a 9-to-5 job, I feel like waking up for since I was 19. When did I start an office job? 22. So 22 years old till the majority of my life, just waking up at 8 a.m. and hating waking up and feeling groggy. I don't know how much. Maybe part of it is having to go to work. I don't know if your passion for your job is different, but maybe that adds to it. I don't know.
I got lucky. I did get lucky in that I do love my job. It doesn't bother me. I mean, I don't mind staying there 12 hours, 14 hours. In fact, I remember in residency, 12-hour days is the norm. Like you're there by 6:30. You usually leave around 7:30 in the evening, so 13 hours, something like that. And when I started the liver disease gig, that was actually more 9 to 5, or 9 to 4 even. And now my hours are even more flexible. Like if I'm just in the hospital, like I'll go in at like 8 or 9, depending on when we do procedures. We'll see some patients, we'll do procedures, and then I'll leave after I'm done. So some days it could be go in at 8, leave at 2, go in at 9, leave at 5, go in at 7, leave at 6. I mean, that's actually one of my favorite things about being a doctor is that I don't have to clock in. There's no one that is recording the amount of time I'm there. I just do come in, and once the work is done, I leave. Whether that's 12 hours, whether it's 5 hours, doesn't matter.
There's just a spreadsheet that shows how many livers you fixed.
Or by chance do the hospitals just not charge you? They pay you by the hour. So regardless of how it works out to the hospital, they don't care how much you work. So
what ends up happening is if all the patients are taken care of, if the patients that I am assigned to see have been seen, and as long as I'm available. So like when I did that hospitalist gig that I was telling you about, my hours were technically 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So I'd have to be there by 7 a.m. But usually I would finish seeing all my patients by like 4 or 5. And then I just go to my hotel room. But if the nurse wanted to page me or wanted me to be available, then I could easily come right back. Because ever since starting residency, I've never lived more than 10 minutes from work. So makes life a little bit easier for me.
You do that on purpose to be available?
Yes, I do that. And because sometimes you'll have people that just call even when it's not your time.
Yeah.
And, you can always be like, oh, it's not me, call this other person. Or, I mean, if it's a simple enough thing, you can just be like, oh, okay, I'll take care of that and then move on. And then tell the person to move on.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it all comes from because I actually like what I do. So I'm happy to not pawn shit off as long as it's not like a serious, like, oh shit, I have to go in and do this.
Oh, you got a really bad fucked up liver?
Oh,
I'll be there in 9 minutes.
All right, next question. What do you know or think of cryptocurrency?
So I know next to nothing of cryptocurrency other than the fact that I fucking can't stand the fact that I can't get a gaming laptop for cheaper than I can because these fuckers are all buying up all these graphics cards. God damn it. But other than that, I don't really pay too much attention to cryptocurrency like everybody else does. In fact, I always wonder, like, we don't really use it as currency. And so I was thinking, like, I mean, if we're not really using it as currency, can we call it currency? Maybe as people are saying that maybe if it gets more widely adopted, then we'll use it as currency. And that'll be interesting. But other than that, damn it.
I would look to Liem as somebody that's an expert over me in cryptocurrency. Like, I would really respect his intelligence on the topic.
Bye. This is not financial advice, but this is for educational purposes only. I actually wish they would call it crypto money. So definitions, supposedly, definition of money is a
crypto cash money, brother.
Money is not, you can't print more. It's a finite amount. Currency is something so the US dollar is a currency because you can print more.
Well, is a rule you can't print more money?
By the definition, correct.
Okay.
As far as I understand, I might have it wrong, but that's why I'm upset that they call it cryptocurrency because I think it should be crypto money. Yeah. I do understand if someone were to argue with me and say, well, as a consensus, you could hard fork and get more money in there, but it is a finite at the time of that consensus.
I actually have trouble with the crypto part. I think that's bad marketing. Like, crypto doesn't sound good. It sounds sketchy.
True. Cryptology is like the codes, right? Like the study of coding or something.
Yeah. Actually,
but your average person doesn't understand cryptology and mathematics.
Exactly.
From a nerd perspective, I think it's a perfect word, but for humans, I could see where you're going at with that.
Bad marketing.
Yeah.
Like Bitcoin is a much better name.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. And that's why I think people all think cryptocurrency is just Bitcoin or I guess Ethereum is the other big one now.
Yeah. The next blue chip or the number 2. I think we're just so early. This is like Google in 1994. I think cryptocurrency is it's gonna have a bigger impact than the internet had. Cryptocurrency is the culmination potentially of the internet, actually. And we'll see if it gets there or not, whether it's true or not.
In what sense, though? I mean, because the internet was right. I mean, when the internet came out, it's more dissemination of information is now so much easier, and anybody with a computer can look at it. So how does cryptocurrency do it for that?
I think it'll be my theory. It will be truth by consensus. So, truth by anything that we could choose that is factual, that is on a ledger, anything that a consensus of people choose to believe in is the truth. So just that alone, truth by consensus is a massive, massive thing. And if blockchain can bring that, which I think it does, I feel in the coding world, it does do it. I'm not saying I think it does do it. It's whether humans choose to use this hammer on the nails that we have, that it's the best tool. Okay, what is consensus by truth? So take the voting situation here in America. You could vote on your president, and then you got these damn mayors that do the gerrymandering. If you had a blockchain, granted, it's still the human system. I like to debunk myself as I talk, but
I like to pull the legs out from under my foundation as I go.
So it's an amazing tool. It's an amazing hammer. But if humans aren't going to use it for the voting, so if you add gerrymandering on the blockchain, it's still the human's fault for adding gerrymandering. But if you had whether voting, I forget the word where it's you don't have the electoral college,
just literal democracy,
popular voting,
just one vote.
Yeah, if that was the rule written on the blockchain, you can trust this blockchain that when I vote for Donald Trump,
no, you're going to vote for Yang.
I know.
Yeah, that shirt. That was cool.
So I was wearing that shirt earlier, I think, right?
Yeah.
So go Andrew Yang for the third party, but I
was a Sanders guy myself.
So if you vote for that on the blockchain, it's immutable per se. Now, yes, I'm gonna debunk myself or whatever. I'm gonna be devil's advocate and say, sure, humans are involved and they could fuck it up. If you have more than 51% that are okay with fucking up the system, then they could do a hard fork, change the code, and do whatever they want. But this paradigm for consensus of truth can be built for governments, for banks, insurance companies. I think that the banks is such a big one that one will take longer. I'll explain the insurance companies after. I'll try to just quickly say the banks. I mean, they're printing money. They control. When you get a home loan, aren't they creating that money out of nowhere? Really?
Yes.
So
because of fractional reserve.
Yes.
Lending, yes.
So you can't do that on the blockchain. That's not possible. For every Bitcoin or Ethereum, all the way down to 0.000001, it's accounted for. You can't fuck with that. Now let's take insurance. I think the paradigm shift. I love saying this example. When I get in a car accident, an adjuster comes. Adjuster's on the side of the insurance company. If someone hits me, the adjuster, it's in they're hired by the insurance company to say, "Oh, my car was worth less."
They're trying to adjust you down.
That's a fucked up system.
Right.
If you had a blockchain cryptocurrency system that you'd have you'd have insurance company, a third party adjuster, and then me, and then there'd be some type of Yelp like system where you could judge your insurance.
Oh, Vig hates Yelp. Some kind of feedback and rating system.
Yeah.
Okay.
Potentially, it would be an unbiased rating system, unlike Yelp. So
it's rigged.
So then you got the insurance company that there might be multiple insurance companies. I could choose what to go with. I would hopefully choose the one that's been rated 50-50, where it's 50% of the time they actually side with the insuree, and then 50% of the times they side with themselves. And then with the third party adjuster, it would be the same thing. So I would pick an adjuster that's 50-50, and hopefully an insurance company would pick someone. I mean, we would probably at first I'd pick someone 90% always on the insurer side, but through the course of that smart contract, we would eventually pick one adjuster, and the adjuster would fairly fit one side or the other.
So now the question becomes: is any one particular cryptocurrency that you would favor over the other, or would
for me, I choose Ethereum right now. That's a smart contract because Bitcoin was built as the first one. That's the grandfather. It doesn't have a programming layer, so that's why I feel like it's held back. In my personal opinion, I could be wrong, and maybe in 10 years somehow Bitcoin goes to even more to the moon, and it's the only one that stays there. But I think Ethereum has use cases where you could do these smart contracts that I'm talking about. You could do insurance company with third-party adjusters. You could build everything with smart contracts. If it's programmable, which I don't know anything that isn't programmable. Anything that's digitizable that you can digitize, then you could program the logic to handle that.
Cool.
So I think cryptocurrency is the future. To me, it boils down to that consensus of truth is so fucking powerful. I mean, you talk about propaganda with news, how powerful governments can be to control a nation. If you can decentralize that and make data as truth, however, I throw that term in there kind of funky. Any piece of data can be truth. It has a consensus of people to say that's true or not. The reason why that works is if you understand a little bit of cryptocurrency with the mining nodes around the world that's decentralized, no one entity is able to hack that. At least mathematically right now, it's very improbable, very to the point of impossible, very close to impossible. So
cool.
I would say as our lives get more and more digital, that's an undeniable trend. The idea of a distributed public ledger is going to allow new functionality that's going to change what we do. So Liem uses this example a lot. Is when the internet first came out, did you ever imagine that you could have a cell phone and order some guy to go pick up food for you?
No. That
you never met before from someplace you never been before.
Yeah, no.
So it's a weird. You can't predict what the actual thing will be.
Right.
And the other thing I would say is I would call it currency. I mean, do you Venmo people or Zelle people or PayPal people? Yeah. So there's digital ways to pay people. So is it currency? Will somebody accept this in exchange for giving me something else?
Right. For goods. So if you can exchange that for goods, then I guess that
has value. And then also the IRS is very interested if you make a profit on it.
Yeah. That is
so
true.
The IRS is telling us that it's money or currency, right?
Fair enough.
So to me, those are the hallmark indicators that, look, it's going that way.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you ever have any questions, feel free to ask me.
Yeah.
Whether text message or email. Next question. You kind of answered the first part. The second part, I'll say it off. So I'll say both. What's the biggest problem for humans, and what's the solution?
Oh yeah. What's the solution?
I think humility is not something you got to be taught that at a young age. I think really the main solution is teaching people critical thinking. Like overall, like I go to Reddit all the time. Like that's where I generally will get a lot of news. But I don't go to just one thing there. If I want to read the news, then I try to read in multiple places and see if that's okay. And it's the same with medicine too. I mean, like there's guidelines in medicine. Different societies have different guidelines. So, for example, the screening for colon cancer there are 3 different societies that have 3 different guidelines for that. Same with breast cancer, same with cervical cancer, and things like that. The one of them, which is the U.S., so it's called the U.S. Preventative Task Force, or USPSTF. They make a guideline that is least what's the word? Where it encompasses the it's not as applicable to everybody. So whereas the ACG, which is the American College of Gastroenterology, they moved the age of screening for colon cancer down to 45. The USPSTF is still saying 50. And it's a lot of it is what they're trying to do is they're trying to decrease resource utilization so that you're not. I mean, if we didn't have to worry about resource utilization, if we didn't have to worry about resources in general, yes, it's great to do whatever you want. But because we're making rules for a whole population, it's not always easy to. They want to make sure that there is absolute concrete evidence, not just trends towards something.
Yeah.
So that's what the U.S. federal government is more interested in. So that's why the USPSTF does that. So for another one was like cholesterol treatment guidelines. So we put people on a medication called statins, right? Like Lipitor, Crestor, Zocor, those sort of things. The American Heart Association, when I was in residency, said when you have an atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease risk factor of greater than 7.5%, meaning you had a risk of 7.5% or greater in the next 10 years to have a heart attack, you should be put on a statin. The USPSTF says 10%. Because again, there's much more data to support that than there is a 7.5 rule. Knowing the differences between the two and being able to like judge critically that, okay, this makes more sense for certain people. Like if someone has great insurance and they're not going to pay anything out of pocket and you don't have to worry about them like breaking their own bank for this, I might use the 7.5%. But for someone who has much worse, their financial situation is a lot different, I would try to go more for the 10%. So, and it's the same for colonoscopies. I mean, I would love to screen everybody at 45 for colon cancer. But at the same time, not everybody can pay for it. And not everybody's insurance is willing to pay for it. So some guy was willing to pay out of pocket, and that's like $1,500 out of pocket to pay for a colonoscopy. Fine, I will do that for you. But someone else will be like, well, I mean, if the insurance is covering, we can wait till 50.
Nice.
So critical thinking like that is sort of very important, I think.
Oh, so you want smarter people?
Somewhat, yeah. Basically, I mean, damn it, yes. At least better schooling on how these things. I mean, like, why don't we teach people a basic, like, you know, just because someone said something on there. Have you guys? So there was a YouTube channel. I think it was called College Humor or something. They did they had this thing called If Google Was a Guy. When I was in like college or med school or something. It was really funny, just skit. And one of the skits was in this skit, this lady asked Google, do vaccines cause autism? And the guy says, well, I have 1,000 results here that say no, and I have one result here that says yes. And she takes the one paper and she says, I knew it. And it's like,
yes.
I mean, we should be able to teach these people how to Google these things. Don't go to just the first source. Actually look at what it is and stuff like that. I don't know why we don't have that in schools. We can teach. My community college had a course on playing StarCraft, but we can't teach we can't teach people that you can't just fucking believe everything on Google. Like, what's up with that?
Yeah, I think a major problem is that Americans are kind of anti-math.
Yeah, I mean
and then if you anti-math, that's going to cut you out of a lot of science and a lot of statistics. Like people don't have an intuitive grasp of statistics or probabilities, or a lot of the things you just said are going to fly over a lot of people's heads.
Yeah. That being said, kindergarten, I have a friend, she's a kindergarten teacher here. There's a lot more science behind kindergarten teaching than I had any idea of.
How so?
So like she's telling me like, you know, COVID has really set back kindergartners because there's a lot of people that just didn't get school properly. So she's like, by the age of 6 or whatever, or 5, I think, whatever age they're at, just basic drawing of certain figures, saying certain letters and those sort of things, they just don't have a grasp of that they absolutely should.
Because they're losing a critical year of development? Is that
I mean, I don't necessarily think it's critical, but it's definitely going to be harder, I guess. They'll have to catch up, which I'm pretty sure they can. But just the idea, I mean, and I was sitting there, I'm like, you know, science in kindergarten, like what? But she's like showing me like, you know, a year ago when she had a kindergartner, or not 2 or 3 years ago, like they were drawing a stick figure of a person. But this year's kindergartners basically just draw her as a potato head with eyes. So, gotcha. Because they don't have the clear grasp of like, you know, different limbs, like people have limbs.
Weird, yeah.
That. So, again, very interesting. Teaching is much more complex than I give it credit.
Yeah, we got to teach kids about limbs.
All right, next question. What's your favorite food or dish?
So my absolute favorite dish. So in South India, as I said, we're supposed to eat really spicy. That's what apparently South Indians are very known for, and consequently we do get bad heartburn. But the one thing that South Indians do, and I think this is probably in response to eating all the spice, because literally they would just have my my grandfather, when he lived on a farm, he would just have red chili powder on rice and just eat that.
Yum.
That's it.
Yeah.
I don't understand that. But what we also do is we make our own yogurt. So my mom actually makes her own yogurt, and every day you have the rice with whatever curry, and then after that you eat rice with a little bit of yogurt. And but also usually you put a little bit of salt and then have a piece of fruit. So in India, there's these mangoes that are just juice. They're just like liquefied juice on the inside. And
because they're so ripe?
I don't know exactly. I think they're actually made that way.
Yeah.
And those mangoes, you just squeeze out the juice on this yogurt, rice, plain yogurt with rice and a little bit of salt. That's my absolute favorite. I love that.
That might be the wildest answer yet.
Is it like a mango lassi?
It's kind of, it is actually, with a little bit of rice in it.
Okay.
And they do put a little bit of salt on it too. At least I like salt with the yogurt. So yeah, it's got a salt sweet flavor to it. Second to that in the U.S. is chocolate chip cookies.
And fresh out of the oven, right?
Oh God.
Yeah, where it's still like almost crispy on the outside and then soft,
chewy on the inside. Yeah, no,
you just want it all,
and that's the problem. That's actually my biggest problem is that I can't stop eating cookies. I had a cheat day the other day, and I was like, I'll go to Subway just have a sandwich, and they just brought out the cookies.
Give me that whole oven,
fresh.
And most people, when they say, I went to town, I had a sandwich, and I had like 2 or 3 cookies. I had a sandwich and I had 12 cookies.
Oh Jesus.
So I have zero control.
You stepped out of the moderation zone.
And you know what happened? Terrible diarrhea that cramping and down in my stomach was like, bro, I can process a lot of sugar, but this is too much sugar. I can't absorb all this sugar.
I did not know 12 cookies would give you diabetes. I mean, give you diarrhea.
Because what happens is this, it's just simple osmosis. So if you have a lot of sugar in your gut and that's not absorbed, or like fiber, what it does is most insoluble fiber. All it is it's just extra particles in the gut lumen, or we call it, so the inside of it, and so that kind of keeps water there instead of being absorbed because there's no gradient. Because the concentration on the inside is supposed to be higher than the concentration on the outside. If you have too much sugar or too much fiber, then the concentration on the outside is going to be similar, so water stays in the gut, and therefore you get diarrhea.
Wow. I think you really are a doctor. If anybody has any doubts, any of our viewers think we're full of shit here.
All right, last question. Shout out to friends. What friends do you think should do this podcast?
So a good friend of mine that I told you about, we wanted to try to do a podcast, Nizar Sanusi. He's also a GI doctor, and he'll be practicing, hopefully. I don't know where he'll be, but he would be, I think, an ideal person for something like this. He's much funnier than I am, much funnier, and much more talkative as well. So he would be a good one. And
no, funny is not a requirement.
But I think it works well with patients, when you can laugh at them. One of the other things that most patients like is if you sit down while you talk to them. I don't know why, but it's a psychological thing. Even if I'm still only spending 10 seconds in that room, if I find a chair just to sit down, everyone feels like I'm sitting there and talking to them.
Yeah, Hooters does the same thing.
Do they?
Yeah, that's part of their playbook is if they sit with you, there's a psychological change. And
they actually sit with you?
They try to sit in the booth with you.
Last time I went to Hooters was probably 5 years ago. That wasn't a thing.
Yeah, we can test it if you want to go. There's one here on Rainbow.
I'm good for now.
Well, we can see the controversy on the new shorts. Have you guys heard the shorts?
No, what happened?
So there's
news feed,
yeah, on the news feed it showed up. They have whatever the booty shorts they had before, now it's cut where the butt shows a little bit more the butt cheek.
Oh,
and
it's controversy over that.
There's showing too much skin, and some supposedly bigger women are saying it gives a wedgie the whole time.
My ass is hanging out.
Yeah.
So if the women are complaining, I would say, okay, don't wear it. I thought if it was like a man just being like, sometimes
got all this ass around here.
It happens. Sometimes it happens, or you have these guys that are like they want to always control something. They're like, that is showing too much ass. I don't like it, and I don't want my daughter to be like. And it's like, dude.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say they're a weasel that's always trying to be on the women's side so they can gain favor.
Oh, okay. No, I've always seen it that way because it's anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Nizar Sanusi, and I think my brother would actually be pretty good for this too. His name is Vignan. He knows a lot more about blockchain, and that's he's a pediatrician though, but
cool.
He's much better at this.
Oh, he knows more about children.
He knows more about children. He knows more about blockchain. He knows more about Bitcoin, and he also knows more. And he has his own 3D printer, so he loves that whole tech deal. Well, I don't know if he still has it, but yeah.
Oh, wait, so you and Nizar wanted to do a liver?
No.
podcast?
Yeah, we wanted to educate, but we wanted to make it in a way that would be a lot easier for people to digest, where it wasn't just some dry comment. So ACG, actually, they have their own podcast. So whenever they put out guidelines for how to treat different diseases, they'll actually interview the main writer of the guideline with the editor for ACG, of the American Journal of Gastro.
Yeah.
It is a dry slog.
Is he in Vegas or is he elsewhere?
No, the guy actually, he's from Cedars-Sinai. One of the guys is from Cedars-Sinai. The other guy, I don't know where he's going. But then they'll talk with the writer of the guidelines, and it'll just be on the podcast. It's the ACG podcast. It's a great learning podcast, and I listen to it while I'm driving. But I think the vast majority of people that would be listening to these, they might appreciate a little bit more of a entertaining take.
Yeah,
and you just.
Are you hoping to do it to supplant the dry, or?
I was hoping to, but as I was telling him, anytime we had great ideas, I think that would have worked, and luckily I have a network of different liver doctors that I'm almost certain would be willing to come on the podcast, and we could have done something, but it's the actual execution has
testosterone.
we definitely kind of faltered somewhere in between there. I mean, we kept talking about it, and we're like, we should. And it's like, well, now I got a job. Now I have to look for other jobs. Now I got to do this. And I got to do that. And it's just like, you know what? Fuck it. It's a lot of effort that we're just not as
production.
Yeah. And I mean, we even thought like, there's a major liver organization called AASLD, or the American Association for the Study of Liver Diseases, that if we actually got this podcast off, I'm almost certain that they would have been willing to sponsor it or something. But again, it's just the whole thing takes too much effort that I don't know if we were willing to put into it.
If only you knew a guy with like a production already set up. Only you knew a guy.
You guys could use it. Well, actually, it would be tough with timing, because actually we have to time like when who's home and whatnot.
Yeah,
and
you just don't keep it like this all the time.
What? Well, we keep the setup, but as for like because we tell the roommates like try not to make a lot of noise because it can get into this.
Oh, I see.
Stuff like that.
My friend is also in New Mexico now, and then he's going to be in Seattle probably soon or something like that. I don't. We could make it work, but shit.
Yeah. All right.
Cheers,
Vignan. It was a absolute pleasure. Thank you for spending 3 hours with us.
No problem,
Dr. Vig. Thank you.